Mike has a podcast which is very, very good. Listen to Mike's podcast, you definitely should. Learn things you didn't know about your favorite TV show. Well, film, really. Like, there's a director's cut of The Little Shop of Horrors. I didn't actually know that. And it was the only version I'd ever seen on TV years ago. Anyway, listen to Mike's podcast or I'll kick in your door. Swing it wide open and knock you on the floor. Never seen what, you've never seen what, you've never seen what, you've never seen what, well now you have.
Okay.
I'm just going to start laughing straight away.
Good. Keep it in.
Keep it in. Put it at the end, like little Easter egg. Hello and welcome to You've Never... do you know what I've done? I've deleted half of the paragraph. I've got hello and welcome to another epi, Michael Moran.
This is why I thought you were going to do it outside, because like I've tried this before. It's just impossible because it just, the other person's there. But it makes it funnier.
I'll do it.
It makes it fun for me.
Hello and welcome to another episode of You've Never Seen What, the podcast where I, Michael Moran, watch a film that I've never seen before based on the recommendation of my guest. This week's guest is MrSteJ, a Twitch variety and retro game streamer from the Liverpool area who delights his viewers with chat, pop culture, retro news, and sometimes, just sometimes, retro video games in the morning over breakfast on Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. He also co-hosts the Late Night Serial podcast with former You've Never Seen What guest, Pasta Plunger. Steve has been the gateway for myself to join a community of welcoming, like-minded retro gamers on Twitch, and he, in particular, was the inspiration for this show. He hosts a daily movie battle on his streams, and it was often pointed out by Steve's chats how few of the movies that I have seen. So, Steve, you're the reason that this podcast exists somewhat.
I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that. That's crazy. Wowzers.
So it's quite a nice bookend that between, I think it's the fact that you and Plunger do a podcast, Late Night Serial, and also your daily streams have the movie battles, which are generally, well, for the last year or 18 months or so, have been 80s movie battles. And every time there's a movie battle on Steve's channel, it's like, oh, I've not seen that film. I've not seen that film. And I'm like, I'm just going to do a podcast where people fill in this backlog. But then between the fact that when you and Plunger started doing a podcast, you said something very early on, which is something like very few podcasts make 10 episodes.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted you to be on the 10th episode, because this is the 10th episode of You've Never Seen What. And also Plunger being on episode 1 is quite a nice bookend for like this first cohort of episodes. So,
hopefully I don't ruin it and it's the last one.
yeah, this is scorched earth. This is where all the dirty laundry gets aired. And I'm like, no.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you started this because of the movie battles. Like, what? I mean, sorry to ask you a question first off, but why? How come you didn't watch a lot of these movies growing up? You just didn't have a TV?
I really don't know, because so Steve's channel is as if there's going to be many listeners to this who aren't already aware of Steve, but Steve's channel is ostensibly a retro games channel, but there's just a lot of retro in general. So retro films, retro cartoons, things a lot from the 80s, early 90s in particular. And I don't know why I have just a lot of gaps in that area, because when I chat with Steve and with Steve and with the rest of the chat in his chat, like, I have seen a lot of films. I like to go to the cinema very frequently. I watch a lot of modern films,
Yeah, you watch a
lot of
lot
classic films, but for some reason there's a lot of cult films, a lot of classics that I have just never seen, and it is the kind of films that would pop up in movie battle. So today we're discussing Labyrinth. Last week I discussed The Last Starfighter. There are gaps that people haven't picked yet that I'm already thinking about, like I've never seen The Princess Bride. There's like these massive kind of particularly 80s films or cult hit films or kind of geek culture films in a lot of ways that I'm missing out on.
Do you find... Sorry, I'm just asking you questions now. This is
now
terrible.
Steve's podcast.
I'm taking over 10 episodes in. This is mine now. Do you find, like, watching a lot of these older ones that you actually... you don't have to spoil about this one, about Labyrinth, but do you find that you actually can appreciate them watching them, like, later on, where a lot of these were maybe kind of intended to watch at the time when you were kind of growing up?
Yes and no. I think that... the films that the thing is the concept of the show was this, but because it's at the guest's discretion what they pick, a lot of the films have been left field picks.
Yeah.
So I was expecting it to be like Goodfellas or something that I haven't seen that is like a major kind of cultural touchstone. But it's been a lot of like Mike Drucker picked a film called Hundreds of Beavers, for example, which nobody's ever heard of, and it ended up being a really nice thing to discover. So like The Last Starfighter last week is an example of something where I didn't have the affinity for it from being a child, and I still really appreciated it, and I got a weird nostalgic feeling for something that I didn't initially experience.
Good, because I think that's one of those films that I think maybe some people will come to like too late and go, I'm too old to kind of appreciate this. Like I used to work with someone who, when they hit 40, went, I'm going to watch The Goonies. I've never seen it. And then they ended up watching it and then came in the next day and said, those kids, they should have stayed at home. It's too dangerous. So it's like, no kid is saying that. They're so excited. He was talking about like the water slide and you didn't know where that was going to end up. Could have been spikes there. It's like, when you're a kid, you don't think like that, So I can still appreciate that in the same kind of mentality I had when I was growing up.
Yeah, in fact, I thought about that because I've heard you mention this friend before, and I kind of thought about that as I was watching The Princess Bride in particular. Sorry, not The Princess Bride, that was just in my head. The Last Starfighter in particular, because that is very much of that era and of that kind of aimed at kids, sort of. It is dark moments in it, but like it isn't a film that you'd necessarily think would stand the test of time, particularly that film, because it is so filled with computer-generated, very early computer-generated
were amazing
images
for the time, but severely dated now,
Yeah, whereas I was kind of like, wow, these are impressive in a way that I think I can appreciate, kind of knowing what it took. Whereas something like Tron, I am not a fan of Tron, the original Tron. I think it's a very slow, meandering film.
I can appreciate Tron. I actually love it in a way, and I love the soundtrack, but I think it's because the Tron Legacy came out, and I way prefer that. Like, it's more of like a music video, Tron Legacy, but I think it's a better film.
Yeah, Tron Legacy was one of the first films I saw in IMAX, actually. IMAX 3D. Nearly 16 years ago that film came out, which is crazy. But I really enjoyed it, and it kind of knew what it was. It wasn't aspiring, I think, to be anything greater. Some of the de-aging effects don't look great now. No. But the whole vibe of the film and that Daft Punk soundtrack.
Well, it's the soundtrack, isn't it, really? If they didn't have Daft Punk with that film, then probably wouldn't like it as much.
And Michael Sheen's strange David Bowie character.
Michael Sheen? He's got some really weird roles in his IMDb, isn't he?
Yeah. Surprisingly big hits and then little ITV dramas.
Yeah.
So, Steve, we're coming up to halfway through the year. How are you? How's your 2026 been so far? Very loaded question, I think.
It's one of the, I mean, we're going to say this a lot. As you get older, one of those things, isn't it? Because it feels weird that it's June already. It feels like we've just had Christmas and now it's June. And you're never like that as a kid because you're just like, you're bored. But as you get older, you don't really have time to be bored because you're just filled with projects and things. And just like that, it's like we're now getting to the point where it's nearly closer to next Christmas than last one. So I'm like, I'm a bit stressed out thinking, where's the time going? I want to kind of stop and kind of like breathe in some of the time. But no, it just feels like it's just going crazy this year.
It is. This year has gone absolutely. It is like a cliche, but Jesus, what happens? It's like maybe when you hit like mid-30s, is it? And so, well, probably earlier, probably 30.
Yeah.
Just time starts melting away.
I remember being a kid sitting on my step and being like, I'm so bored. I wish there was something to do. And days just lasted like weeks. And now you're like, you wish you could be bored. I mean, when people say, oh, I'm bored I just go, you've got the internet. You cannot be bored. You've literally got like encyclopedics, or movies and Netflix streaming, everything around. You cannot be bored anymore. I kind of wish you could be bored, but you can't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Although you have, I don't know if you do this, I definitely get that thing where, wow, I've actually got an hour free. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit down.
Yeah.
I don't want to start a new game. I don't want to do menu hero flicking through Netflix. I just want to.
I don't like that, yeah. It's weird, though, because I don't think I can relax. I kind of like the idea of it, and then I sit there and go, I know I've got to do something. I feel guilty that I'm relaxing, and then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I wish I had more time to play some games or whatever. But I've filled
The
it with
amount
other
of
things.
times, the amount of times like the next day, I'm like, why did I go to bed at like 9 o'clock?
Stupid, isn't
could
it?
have done
But
something.
I'm not really a kind of relax on the beach sort of person. I've got to kind of do something, but then I kind of wish I did because
Are you a city break holiday
Yeah,
instead of a
totally city
resort?
break. I
Yeah.
hate beaches. I've only sunbathed once in my life, and I got prickly heat. And I remember just being in the shower crying, going, "I'm never sunbathing again."
I mean, you don't look like someone who sunbathed a lot, Steve. I'm not gonna lie.
How dare you? I know, but yeah, I wish I could like walk past a bulb and get a tan, but no, I'm not that kind of guy.
I went to Cleveley's about a week ago and walked on the beach and like kind of sat on the beach with my daughter Daisy, who just turned 3, and I was like, I don't think I've been on the beach since I started shaving my head. I probably should have put sun cream on.
100%, you have to do that. Yeah, I have to carry around suntan or lotion all the time. Yeah, because of all that.
But I did manage to do the geeky thing of going up and taking a picture at the wall where Cassian Andor gets pinned by one of the robots in Star Wars Andor. Because they filmed it on Cleveley's, which is a random
I didn't know
thing.
that.
Yeah.
That was a good show.
And then I took a nice video zooming in across the beach towards the Norbreck Hotel, which is the place where me and Steve have met in person at Blackpool Play Expo.
I don't know if you're going to go this year, but I'm hoping to go again.
Yes,
time
I am going to go this year because it's only up the road. There's no, not to dox myself, but there's not like a big
You live
trip.
in a hotel.
I live in the Norbreck in one of the fake turrets. If anyone doesn't know the Norbreck, it is a hotel that's in North Blackpool.
He's going to wave out his window now. You can see him.
It's a hotel in North Blackpool, which kind of looks a bit like a castle, but in a pleasure beach way or like a Disneyland way, where it's clearly just like a facade. It's not.
It's got like a weird like kidney shaped pool outside that it'll be filled with like rainwater and things like that. But
I don't think I've seen the kidney pool.
Yeah.
the kidney pool of Norbreck.
You've never seen the kidney pool?
Yes.
Oh my word!
You've never
Next
seen the
time,
kidney
tick
pool.
that box.
Yeah, that can be in a future episode. There's a Morrison's in Preston. What a segue this is. There's a Morrison's in Preston at the docks.
Wow.
So Preston, for an inland city, does actually have docks.
Wow.
Like a marina. I don't know where the water comes from. It comes from the Ribble, I guess. But there's a Morrison's on the docks, and part of the building is a lighthouse. So that's a kind of a similar thing where it's not a real lighthouse. Like it's not.
Part of the lighthouse is a Morrison's.
It's more like part of the Morrison's is a lighthouse. It's like not a real lighthouse. They didn't just find the lighthouse and think, you know what this needs?
I feel like it'd be protected, wouldn't it? A building like that, you know.
That's what I mean. So it's not a real lighthouse, but it looks like one. It is just for show, in the same way the Norbreck's not a real castle.
No, it's not.
It is just.
Yeah.
I don't know who would be attacking the Norbreck.
No, I've started to put it all together now. I've started thinking, well, maybe you could throw a Morrison's into the Norbreck, and that might get a little bit better for people as well.
Yeah, there is a Morrison's Daily behind the Norbreck, which the staff during Play Expo get very confused by the amount of people wearing gaming shirts like what I'm wearing today coming in. Yeah,
I also noticed you've got a Destiny mug, by the way. I couldn't stop looking at it because of
yes.
And that's another segue into other things, which is nothing to do with this podcast. But yeah, it's just
Destiny mug, which I have. I think I got it for Secret Santa one year, and I like it because it is.
That's all the Destiny fans wanting Destiny 3. Putting it out there.
This is a great tripod that I've got. That was quite a good action shot, that, actually.
I like the way. It's good.
You just put something against it so it doesn't happen again. Professional podcasting. Right, yeah, so I think I got it from a Secret Santa, and I like it because it is about 16 ounces.
It's massive. I didn't realise it was that big. It's like a Sports Direct mug, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not quite as big as a Sports Direct mug, but it is big enough. It's bigger than the MrSteJ mug, though, which is why the MrSteJ mug is still in pristine condition, because I need a lot of coffee in my mug.
Yeah.
So, viewers of the video version of this podcast will notice that, much like I've got a lot of random stuff behind me, Steve has got a veritable toy shop of gizmos and gadgets and toys behind him. When did this problem start, Steve? And are you doing anything to correct
Do you know
it?
what? It is a problem because if I stream on TikTok, it thinks I'm a shop. So it gives me violations, thinking I'm trying to sell stuff. And I don't know what to do.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's like, what? This is just a backdrop, you know? This started, I mean, it's on and off. I remember I had a year where I just got rid of everything because I went through a kind of an existential crisis thinking I don't need anything. I'm going to live without and be minimalist and all that. And then I realized I love the idea of being a minimalist, but at heart I'm a materialist. So I'm kind of like a minimalist within a materialist body or something like that. There's something going on anyway. So I just bought everything back. So over the years, I just pick up loads of bits, and I have like a section there for like Thundercats, section there. It's just a place to walk in. I'm not like I'm not a crazy collector or hoarder. I like the idea of when I walk in to kind of get that feeling of nostalgia. You know, I don't collect
Yeah.
anything in pristine condition. I don't need all the accessories with items. I want the memory. I want the tactile kind of response of picking up something and taking me back. That's it.
You are like Marie Kondo's ideal customer, I think. It's
Really?
like- yeah. Yeah. Marie Kondo, the whole book about, living minimalist and does this, but actually, no, you might not be because her whole thing is looking at an item and saying, does it bring you joy?
Yeah.
And I reckon
Oh, I
most
see,
of
yeah.
this stuff will bring you joy. So
It totally does, yeah. And I like the chaos and kind of the juxtaposition of things. I think that brings like creativity. You know, when you like get a Thundercats figure meets like Pennywise from like It or something, and then I start thinking, oh, actually, imagine those
making
people.
your own Fortnite multiverse on your
Exactly,
shelves.
but that I think that kind of helps with like other creative pursuits. I'm sure it does. That's what I tell myself anyway.
I kind of went through. So I was never a big toy collector or anything like that, to be honest. I had toys as a kid. I loved toys. I'm a few years younger than you, Steve, so I was more of the kind of Power Rangers era,
Nice.
as opposed to stuff like He-Man or Transformers. Really, I had a Transformer. I had a Megatron that turned into a gun, very
Nice.
realistic looking gun.
Yeah.
But whatever gen it was, I don't know. So I was more Power Rangers. But as an adult. And again, this is kind of probably when I started watching your stream. I was like, hang on, I can just buy the Megazord I
No.
never got as a kid. So, like, I
That's
was
the problem.
buying some of the toys, and they weren't
Yeah.
crazily expensive,
No.
but they were in the boxes. And you might spend £50 on something in good nick, which is it's not a small amount of money.
Mm.
But at the same time, it was like, I really wanted this as a kid, and now I've got it. But now it's just on a shelf gathering dust.
That's what I always say.
And not
like,
even displayed nicely. It's like up there.
Oh, you just throw
somewhere.
on there. Yeah, you need
Yeah.
to have some kind of shelf space to. Otherwise, it just becomes like something. Oh, why have I got that? You know, you want to display it proudly and kind of look at it and go, oh yeah, I'm so happy I've got that. Otherwise, yeah, it's just gathering.
I mean, I
space.
do have some stuff behind me, but it's mainly physical media. Like I've started collecting UHDs recently,
Nice.
and I've got some amiibos and some other stuff. I do have a Power Rangers up there, just out of shot.
Is that
but, yeah.
Blade Runner as well on PC? I see.
Yes, it is.
Nice.
Yeah, Blade Runner.
What an incredible game.
And I have here, just move my camera again, a Famicom
Oh,
Twin,
wow.
which is the sharp one.
Nice.
So yeah, and that is another thing that I can kind of tell my missus that I'm blaming you for is the purchase.
Well,
of
I always
all of
say,
the...
I mean, people will be bored of me saying this, but there's always three rules of collecting. The first one, you want all the stuff you had as a kid, and then you want all the stuff you wanted, and then you want everything. That's
Yes.
it. The three. That's how it goes. Honestly, that's how it goes for me. But I'm kind of specializing at the moment in Ghostbusters because I love He-Man and all that stuff, obviously, but I've got a lot of vivid memories of the lad over the street from me of the road who had loads of Ghostbuster stuff that I wanted. They had the firehouse and all that stuff, and I was like, I never had that. And now I kind of want it all. So
do you have the firehouse?
no, it's a kind of a grail. I don't know about if you're like this with things you collect. I actually don't want to get some of them yet. I want to keep them at arm's length, so it's still something that you're chasing. Because I always say, like, I wouldn't want someone just to come to the door with a box of all the stuff and go, here you are. Because
You want the thrill of the
Yeah.
search. Yeah.
it's like a T-Rex in Jurassic Park. You know, I want to hunt. I want that. You just want to be given the food.
I mean,
that's the fun of
yeah.
it.
I mean, I get that to a certain extent. I saw a video, and it's bad thing to raise up because I can't remember who it was or anything, but there was someone who had become a games collector and they'd kind of bought a ready-made collection from someone. And I'm like, what's the point in that?
Exactly.
Like, if you're very wealthy and you can use your money to help attain them, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But to just kind of, someone's already done all the work, the legwork for me, and now I can just buy it. I don't see the point in that.
That happens. Like, I remember I had a friend who wants to get into guitar because I play guitar, and I never really had a fancy guitar when I was a kid. I had a really cheap, like, acoustic one, and I leveled up each time. And then my mum was, I want to get into guitar, so we got a really good, like a red Les Paul, and he learned on that, and he just left it in the middle of his on the floor, no respect, just full of his washing, socks on it, and everything, because he just didn't level, didn't learn with it, and
There is that kind of thing, yeah.
didn't yearn for the next step.
Or it's like the person who gets into a new hobby and buys the best golf. Like, you become a golfer and buy all the best clubs.
All the stuff straight away.
Yeah, all
You got a
the gear,
reason.
no idea.
I mean, a lot of the things we do as hoarders or collectors or whatever, it's like you want the next thing, and then you put the thing on the shelf, and then you want the next thing. It's always that kind of conveyor belt action, isn't it? So yeah, I'm always kind of wary about kind of getting everything at once, and also it's an expense as well, just going out and getting everything at once. So I'm kind of glad I can't do that.
I'm like that with Lego. The amount of unbuilt Lego sets I have. And yeah, I still will want the latest, greatest one. And, we were talking about the Goonies early on. I have the Goonies sets. I saved up, I've got the Goonies set. It was my first Lego purchase in years. And I've just tripped over it before. I've started to build it, but I just tripped over the box.
How much was the Goonies set? That was huge.
I think it cost me about £220, which is a lot of money. But for Lego, it's not actually that bad.
No.
I mean, the Pokemon set just came out,
I
think, a couple of months ago, and that was £600+. And have you seen there's a new Lord of the Rings Minas Tirith
it looks
set?
Beautiful.
It does. It's absolutely insane.
I don't know how you could. I mean, I could say that about people say that about looking at my room, but I don't know how people have the space for all of the Lego sets.
Yeah,
like you got Rivendell as well, and it's like, come on.
What I will eventually do, I think the Goonies set will just about fit on this IKEA shelf at the top, so across two things. So I might have to like redo my backdrop and have. You're gonna
need another shelf. I can see there's a bit of space there behind you, and that shelf needs to be bigger.
It's this damn Kallaxes from IKEA. Yeah. They have like the gap. I just need like the one big shelf.
Yeah,
I suppose I do have a Billy bookcase out of sight here.
There you go. Use that.
But, I am in the smallest room in the house here, and I was tripping over things trying to get in to sit down before we streamed today. So it's bad enough as it is. But the amount of stuff just to hand that is just like I've got a mask from Final Fantasy 14 just there.
Oh my word, that's just random. It's a random mask. I mean, talking about movies as well. Like, I really want to get in. I've started to collect
Game Boy Color, just hanging around,
just randomly there. Yeah. I want to get into boutique label movies now as well. Like Arrow Video, I've started looking at a lot more because I do collect VHS and the odd DVD and stuff like that. But I've got to the point where I do want them to look a little bit better. And I love the fact that the likes of like Arrow Video and 101 Films and all those boutique labels just jam-pack them with extras and a lot of new extras as well with interviews and all. I love all that stuff. So yeah, my eye of Sauron of like hoarding and collecting is looking at them and I'm very intrigued by all that stuff.
This is something actually on the very first episode of this podcast I chatted with Pastor Plunger about because he's also a big collector of physical media and things like that. And we talked about how it does feel like there's almost a bit of a pushback not against streaming in general, but wanting to use that maybe for discovery or for a convenience, but still starting to build up a library of either physical or even digital, but things that you own. Yeah. And you can kind of curate your own library. So I know Plunger, for example, obviously we both know Plunger, he likes having laser discs. I'm kind of viewing UHD discs as that now, where if it's a film, for example, that I'm covering on this podcast, I want to have it on UHD. I want to have like a nice little memory of what I watched and discussed with someone as a guest. And that's why I've got Labyrinth here on UHD. Funnily enough, this is I managed to source, I wanted to source it before, obviously, because I needed to watch it for the podcast. And it was the 30th anniversary version that I sourced secondhand. But the 40th anniversary one's coming out in June. And I was like, oh God, even UHDs are getting old now.
I was thinking about that earlier. Like, you think, well, I'll just hold on for the next one. Because I haven't got that edition of Labyrinth. I've just got the DVDs and Blu-ray. And I'm like, I need to own that. And there's a new version of it as well that came out a while ago that comes with like the magic ball.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'd love that. And the same with Dark Crystal's got a special edition. But if you hang on another 5 years, there'll be a 40th edition as well. So it's not like you need to have it, because in 5 years they'll do a super duper extra special version as well where they'll have, you know what I mean? So it doesn't kind of...
Yeah. The one thing I will say is that some UHD discs do get quite hard to find because the market is a lot smaller than it was before because everyone switched to streaming. And as well as that, they're already a bit of a premium product because, you know, a new release will come out and you can probably get it on Blu-ray and ASDA for a tenner. But the UHD will be £25. Like it is there,
or more.
Or more. But generally, I think like the RRP for a new release is about $24.99, and that's just bog standard. That's not, you know, your Arrow collector's editions and stuff like that. So you know, and I've kind of winced at some of the ones I bought. I bought Hackers to discuss with Jeff Bakalar a couple of months ago, and the only version of that on UHD is brand new release this year from 88 Films, and it's £30, and it's like I'm spending £30 on a film that I've not even seen before. But I kind of have the excuse of it's a nice memory of the podcast. Like I wouldn't do that in 99 times out of 100. It's just because we were covering it on the podcast.
No, I think that's worth it. I think you're right though. There's definitely like a resurgence of people holding back and from streaming. I mean, I was watching something the other day where people were saying that a lot of people are buying DVDs more than ever now. And I was shocking me to think of DVDs over Blu-rays, and it's because I think a lot of people didn't buy into Blu-rays as much as you think. They went straight to DVDs and then went straight to streaming. They won't pay the extra for like Blu-rays or 4Ks. They'll just go after DVDs now. So the people, like younger people, are going back because they want this nostalgia of curating their own collection, like you're saying. But a lot of those people are actually just going to charity shops and picking up DVDs for 50p.
Yeah, if DVD is what you want, you'll find them in abundance.
Yeah.
Blu-ray is a little bit harder, but still fairly okay.
But if I go to a charity shop now, I'll just look at the top label. I'm looking for the boutique label. I'm looking for Arrow or 101 or something like that. And if I don't see those, I'm walking on now.
So boutique ones in particular is what I've been after. So Arrow is a big one in the UK, and it's a weird thing where it's kind of like the inverse of a lot of things that sometimes you want to collect, because a lot of the Americans are jealous of the amount of boutique labels we have in the UK. We've got Arrow, we've got Second Sight, and we've got a one called Radiance, which is really good. Third Window. Yeah, 88 Films. There's like loads of these little ones, and often there'll be a case of we'll have a British release of a film and we'll have, say, a Criterion in America do a release. And it's like some of these boutique Blu-ray fans are like, oh, which one do I get? Which one's got the better transfer or the better extras? Should I get both? You know, it becomes like a bit of a confusion.
Yeah, you have to do a little bit of a read. And like I was sorting out my collection. I've got a small collection of these now compared to like the collection of DVDs I've got, which I feel bad about. But I was like, all the indicator ones are going to go together. All the Arrow video ones are going to go together. It's like, this is silly. Why am I organising it like that rather than like, you know, genres? It's silly.
I've done that slightly because I've got my Criterion ones here. But then I recently bought a Criterion collection of Wong Kar-wai films because it never got released over here, and it's an American one. So it's Blu-ray. It's not UHD, but it's like every one of his films in this lovely box with like a thing. The only thing is I had to, and it's lucky, I guess, that I have the advantage of having these devices, but I've got several devices that'll play UHD discs now, so I've kind of like converted one of them to be an American Blu-ray, because UHD is generally region free, but Blu-ray's got the region A, B, C, so that one's kind of like my dedicated American player.
That's nice. I've only got one place in the house where I can play like 4Ks and that, so it's kind of like I'm always like,
your 4Ks are okay, it's your Blu-rays that, because 4K is region free. I think there's a couple of titles that aren't, but for the vast majority of titles are region free on 4K.
Yeah, I mean like actual players, because like upstairs here where I am, I've only got like I use a PlayStation 4 to play Blu-ray, so they won't play 4Ks really. Where I've got downstairs, I've got one of the Xboxes. I don't know which one it is.
Xbox One S is one of the cheapest ways to get.
I think that's the one I've got. The one with the grill on top, the white one.
Yeah,
that's the one I use. Yeah,
so that's like really one of the cheapest ways of getting a UHD disc
and
player.
It's not a great DVD player. We've gone proper nerdy here, but it's not a great
that's
DVD
what we
player.
want to do.
I remember watching this is what started this actually, because I was trying to watch a copy of Black Rain, which is a really good 80s movie, and it was letterboxed, and I was like, well, I'll just go into settings there, and there was like no settings, and I was like, oh, because on some other DVD players you can kind of adjust it, what you want. And I was like,
You adjust the letterboxing away.
well, no, it wasn't letterboxes in like right across. It was like in the middle of the screen. So if you see where it was like
Was
this.
are you sure that wasn't the disc?
Well, it was the disc, yeah, it's the disc, but it would not let me like do anything else with it. Maybe
So,
like
because you had that terrible early DVDs, and it was terrible for eras of VHS. You had the pan and scan,
yeah,
because most TVs were 4:3, and then as we crossed over into DVDs, you had cases of this was the pan and scan version, this was the widescreen version. So you wanted the widescreen version, but then some people didn't because they were like, well, it's not using the full screen, and you had to try and explain, well, you're actually cutting off loads of the
exactly.
picture. Yeah.
But you couldn't do it because I just wanted to kind of enlarge it just so it meets the end of the screen, not the top. Obviously, we don't cut anything off, but it's just got this little video in the middle of the screen, and I thought, oh, that'll be an option.
Well, that's weird, yeah.
And I was like, and the reason I was picking up a lot of DVDs because I love the original artwork on the DVDs, and sometimes you can't get the license to kind of travel over to like the other versions of them. And I actually really like the DVD menus as well, and a lot of the features didn't carry over as well.
There was an art
definitely.
to the DVD
DVD menus. Like, you look at Ghostbusters with a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man walking around New York, and it's like so cool. And then later on, you just get stills of the movie, which kind of, I think something was lost there. But now I'm kind of coming on the other side. I'm like, I kind of love all the extra features and all the passion that goes into these new releases and the celebrations of the movies that you love. It's kind of winning me over, even though they're a bit more costly.
It's another reason that I still kind of want to be buying physical things, is because I miss the era of movie commenties, which is
you don't get on streaming, really. I don't think you get it. Maybe Disney does a little bit of it, but
there is a couple of cool things. One, I remember when Knives Out came out, the Rian Johnson movie, he released a podcast that you could listen during the movie, and it was the talk over, and he actually released it while it was saying you watch this in cinemas with it, but just make sure you've got headphones in that don't bleed.
I know there's some podcasts do that for like Bandcamp as well, so you can download them. Yeah.
Some people do like comedy commentaries and stuff like that, where you sync it up. iTunes is my go-to place. Well, it's called Apple TV now. I think Apple TV Store is my go-to place to buy digital copies of movies, because generally you get good sales where you can get films at like £2.99, which is decent. They get upgraded to 4K for free when there's a 4K version.
That's good.
Pretty good bit rate, pretty good quality. But if you've got an Apple TV box, there's iTunes extras, and often that'll include stuff that's on the DVD. And I don't see that in a lot of other streaming platforms or anything like that, where you can actually watch it with movie commentary. And it even has a little menu that pops up a bit like a DVD. So
I used to buy stuff on, whatever it was called back in the day, the first iteration of Apple TV or whatever, and maybe it was iTunes then. And I stopped because I remember buying the full series of Jim Henson's The Storyteller. I don't know if you've ever seen that series. And I absolutely loved it. And then one day I went to watch it, and they said, oh, sorry, we've lost a license for that show, so therefore you can't watch it anymore.
Well, that's crazy.
And I was like, and that's
did you get a refund?
No refund. So that made me not want to buy any like digital video stuff from them anymore, or anywhere like that. So I don't mind. I'll rent something because I'll know in my mind I'm not keeping it. But if I would not buy something digitally. I'd rather go out and buy a copy of it.
It wasn't even a case of like, oh, if you had already downloaded it, it was fine.
No, because they've recently got it back on. But I don't get a copy of it because it's a new license.
That's crazy.
So that's why you should have a physical copy, because they can't knock and take that away.
Yeah. But this is the thing about digital in general, is that they always say you don't actually own it. You own a license. Like same with video games on Steam. It could be that one day Gabe Newell will pass away. Steam gets sold to someone else. Goes bust, all them games. What are you going to do? They're gone. People have thousands of games in their Steam library.
Yeah, definitely. Most of them have not played.
Yeah, and so that's like I get the kind of want to keep physical media, but games is a whole other story, because most of the time you still need an internet connection anyway these days. And you have cases like on Switch, you've got the game key cards now that a lot of games are using, or there's barely anything on the disc on like a PS5 copy, and
just
it downloads
a shortcut.
Yes, it's just basically it's like keys.txt or something.
That's happened a lot. Like, that's happened for a long time for PlayStation, but we've only started complaining about it when it hit the Switch. I think it's because we always thought Nintendo would be like, no, Nintendo won't do that.
I think it's partially because it's a cartridge as well. It almost feels like it should be on there.
Feels wrong.
But yeah, no, it definitely is, and they're more expensive as well often on the Switch. I think that's a factor. But yeah, my collection's slowly growing. there's been a lot of offers where it's like 3 for whatever amount. So I've got. I try and turn away from my mic. A lot of films that I've seen before, but some that I haven't. And I have got. Have you seen this film, Steve? This is one that I watched recently. Have you seen Hard Boiled?
Do you know what? I've not. And about everyone's gonna be screaming at me. Oh, look at the arrow logo at the bottom. No, I've
Yeah.
not seen it. I need to see this. Oh, what you get in that? Do you get? Is it a book?
You get you get a little book
Nice.
and something
Just looks
else.
like a nice package, doesn't it? It's just...
Well, the interesting thing about this is another reason these boutique labels are really good is because this is like a new translation even. And for a long time, this is the kind of film which was passed around bootleg videos because people would talk about how good the action scenes were, but there was no legitimate way of watching it. And the story didn't really make sense. And people have kind of gone back, rescanned the negatives, retranslated it, and you've kind of got a more definitive version now, which is like, this is actually what it was supposed to be. Now, I bet some people will probably want the old version. I don't know if the old version is on here. Oh, there is. There's archival audio
Yeah,
commentaries
they
on
usually
there.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so because they're quite good at that kind of stuff, Arrow. But yeah, so Arrow stuff, Criterion stuff, but also it's not arrived yet. But I've got some stuff coming over from America from a company called Vinegar Syndrome.
Oh, well, the Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah, and one of them is the most random thing ever because it was on deep discount because I don't think the Americans really would have understood it. Is like the special edition version of Guest House Paradiso.
Oh my word, they've got it.
They've got it. So the Rick Mail, Aid Edmondson.
Do you know what? I've never seen
spin-off of.
I've never
Bottom.
seen it. I love Bottom. I love Rick Mail. I don't know why, but it just completely escaped me. I never watched it.
I remember loving it as a kid,
Yeah.
but I have no idea how it'll hold up. But it is that kind of crazy, chaotic, violent humor. It's one of the first films with Simon Pegg in it as well. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember seeing him
funny.
a lot earlier on in obviously other sketch shows, his own ones like Big Train and things. But he was also in Alan Partridge in an episode of that.
Yeah, the thing I remember him from is I kind of missed that. God, this is meandering as hell. Sorry, Steve.
Right.
Steve. Sorry, not allowed to call you Steve. No, Stephen. I'm not allowed to call you Stephen. That's it.
You can call me what you want.
Okay, Bob.
Within reason.
So, what's it called? There was I missed that kind of weird. There's like this weird era of BBC and I guess other channels as well, Channel 4 and ITV in like the early 2000s, where I feel like I'm hallucinating some of the shows that were on because they just don't exist on DVD. They don't exist in anyone's consciousness apart from my own. One of them was a sitcom called Hippies, which starred Simon Pegg as a hippie, and it was a traditional multi-camera sitcom. You know, couch in the middle of the room, set in the 60s about hippies, and Simon Pegg was a hippie.
Remember that at all?
Exactly. No? Did I hallucinate it? Is it a Mandela effect?
Because the weird with Simon Pegg is like, you obviously seen him pop up, but I never really kind of recognised him until Spaced came out. And then I was absolutely obsessed with Spaced, and then it kind of all made sense. I've seen him everywhere else and go, oh, it's that guy from Spaced, to kind of join the dots after the fact.
And he obviously became a big deal in Hollywood as well after that.
Yeah, and after that, and Shaun of the Dead, which was I absolutely loved. And obviously Hot Fuzz and that later on.
Here we go. Hippies is a 6-part British television comedy series broadcast on BBC Two in 1999. It was written by Arthur Matthews and Graham Linehan, interestingly.
Oh, right.
But it starred Simon Pegg, Sally Phillips, Julian Reintut, and Darren Boyd.
Wow.
So it's got a good
big
cast
names,
and everything, yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, 6 episodes, and then there was like...
Just gone, yeah.
Yeah, never... There's one that I think about a lot as well called TV to Go, which was... I think BBC billed it as like the first sketch show for the internet age. And that was something where I would love to go back, because in my head, these sketches were hilarious and we all talked about them at school the next day. But no one remembers it at all. And that was around 2000 or something like that. Yeah. Oh, God. Literally, the Wikipedia page for this is 1 sentence. I have never seen this. Let me just show you.
Oh, my word. It's well loved then. Oh, word.
See anything here on my stupid screen? Look at this.
No one cares enough. I mean, someone cares enough to at least put it out there, but no one cares enough to kind of go through it.
It had 2 series, though.
2 series?
But look at the cast again. Pauline McLean, Mackenzie Crook, Hugh Dennis, Mina Anwar, and Deborah Stevenson.
Is this before The Office? Or is it around the same time?
Around the same time, 2001.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Isn't that nuts?
Just no one remembers it.
It makes you think, like, what other things that were out with the same... And Hugh Dennis as well. God. Yeah, a lot. That's crazy.
So, yeah, I wish there was DVDs of these shows, because then I could get them. There was a show recently where it was kind of like, obviously we do not condone sailing the digital high seas on this podcast, but one of the shows I used to watch a lot as a kid, because it was on... So I grew up in Ireland, and on a Monday night in Ireland, but very formative for me in terms of TV watching and comedy, they had Comedy Night on Network 2, which was the Irish kind of like BBC 2, I guess. And it would start at 9 o'clock, show the latest episode of Friends, and then there'd be sitcoms and comedy shows all night. Some of them locally, like Irish programs, but a lot of them were US imports. It's where I kind of discovered Monty Python's Flying Circus. So that was on at about 11 o'clock. There was a very good Irish... kind of like an Irish version of Tarrant on TV in a weird way, but a bit more absurd and creepy. That's how I can explain it. Called The Blizzard of Odd. And that was like a great kind of look at other countries' films and adverts and stuff like that. And then very last thing that was on at night a lot was The Drew Carey Show, which was a sitcom that was... lasted like 10 years in America.
I vaguely remember that. Was Ryan Stiles in it?
Ryan Stiles is in it, as like Drew's best friend. And obviously them two were part of Whose Line Is It Anyway as well, the American version. And the British version in Ryan's case. So yeah, Ryan Stiles was in it, but also Craig Ferguson was one of the main characters in it as well.
Wow.
And then the guy, I can't remember his name, but he is ultimate character actor in horror films.
Lance Hendrickson?
No, a bald-headed guy, a bit bigger.
Oh.
You'll know exactly who I mean. He is... John Carroll Lynch.
Who... I don't know if I know him.
You definitely do. I'll show you him, hang on. This guy.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, he was in American Horror Story.
Yeah, he's in
Quite
Fargo,
notably.
Zodiac. He's in loads of
Yeah.
stuff. I think he's in that... What's that terrible one? Gothica with
It's
Halle Berry.
Yeah, God,
Yeah.
I forgot about that movie.
He's in loads of films anyway, but
Yeah.
he plays Drew's brother. So it's like a great cast, but I feel like it had no cultural impact outside of America.
No.
But because it was on Irish TV in, 12 o'clock, I'm like, I have such nostalgia for this program. So it's like, where can I get this? It's you can kind of source like a secondhand DVD from eBay, maybe. Or it wasn't on any streaming platforms. It wasn't available to buy digitally. And it's like, well, there's only one option in that case,
Exactly.
isn't
It's
there?
sad, isn't it? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I love all these labels coming out and kind of preserving all this stuff.
Where's the
Maybe-
Arrow video version of the Drew Carey Show?
I know. Do you remember, like, there was like a show I used to watch late at night called Grace Under Fire? Do you remember that show about a mum, struggling
Yes,
mum?
yeah.
That was a great little show. There's probably DVDs and all that out, but it was like they were even great shows, but because you wanted something to watch late at
I
night.
love that kind of sitcom. That
Yeah, me
kind
too.
of generally, I used to kind of not want to get into a sitcom because I'd assume it'd get cancelled because there's that many American sitcoms that lasted 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Another one from that era that I think about a lot is Caroline in the City. Do you remember that one?
God, yeah, I liked that one.
And that had a
yeah.
crossover with Friends, weirdly.
Really?
Yeah, so there's the episode of Friends where Joey and Chandler have Ben, Ross's son, and they go out into the city and they leave him on a bus. Caroline from Caroline in the City bumps into them and thinks that they're a gay couple. And that was a deliberate crossover. It was meant to be like this TV
Well, that's
event
crazy,
thing.
isn't it? Because that probably doesn't work nowadays because
No,
Friends
'cause, like,
became
everyone's
so
like, who-
big.
Oh, look, it's Leah Thompson from Back
Yeah,
to the
that's
Future.
it. That's all you're going to think
Yeah.
of. Oh, my word.
Similarly, Friends is in the same universe as Mad About You, which was another big sitcom of that era.
I liked Mad About You. It was good.
The
That was a
reason
good
it's
show.
in the same universe is the character of Ursula, who is Phoebe's twin sister, is a character on Mad About You.
Did not know that,
So
actually. Or maybe forgot about
Lisa
it.
Kudrow, I don't know, this is just now obscure sitcom facts, the podcast. Lisa Kudrow was in Mad About You as the character of it is Ursula. I'm not making that up. Is that her
I
sister's
can't
name?
remember. I haven't watched Friends. I didn't do what everyone else did and rewatch Friends. Like, it seems
I watched
like
it in university. I watched
because
it.
Friends
front
came
to back.
back. I watched it when it first aired. Absolutely loved it. I was one of those people who like met up with some actual friends and watched the episodes when they were coming out. It was not,
humble
especially
brag.
last.
I've
It was
got
terrible.
friends.
My friends, well, look, yeah, in the last series, yeah, we got Friends, and then now don't have Friends. I didn't watch any. I didn't do the whole like revival
The
thing.
concept of Friends is just depressing now.
Yeah, it is. As you get older, you just lose them all. They're either you just don't talk to them anymore, but over issues, or they're just dead. So
If we had titles for this podcast, that's what it could be. Well, yeah, no, I watched Friends like the latter 4 series, or like the last 4 or 5 seasons I watched when they were on. But when I went to university in 2006, I kind of did the thing of I went and bought all the box sets and watched them.
I was going with a light on. Sorry, it's gone all red.
And,
Always in charity shops, aren't the Friends? Always see a
there's that
Friends
many.
box set.
Weird thing about Friends on the physical media front is that they filmed all that on film, so they did the work of actually remastering it and re-releasing it in proper HD as well. But it looks weird because these stuff, even though they were filmed with film, they weren't designed for.
No, she can see people on the side.
So Friends is okay with that because he did shoot it in widescreen. Unlike I know they did stuff with like The Wire where they actually put it into widescreen. You could see like camera equipment and stuff like that.
Buffy
There's
had
like
that issue.
one episode of Friends where you can see a camera thing.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is that you can see how heavily made up they are because the makeup people were using was to be picked up for television. So they all look like a bit weird, like they're clowns. They all look a bit like, why is there so much foundation on Chandler in this
I
scene?
remember seeing a clip where they had like someone standing in for Rachel who wasn't Rachel. I think it was Rachel, but she couldn't. Jennifer Aniston couldn't make it into that scene, so they just got this random woman who's got Rachel's hair, but when you zoom out, it's not hair; it's just some other woman. So you get to see all that extra stuff, which is bizarre.
But what I was going to say is that when they do stuff like the split shots where it's Lisa Kudrow talking to herself because it's her twin sister, because they'd already done that work to merge them together, they couldn't remaster it. So then it suddenly cuts to low res when you're watching it, and it's like higher res and then low res of them two talking. Yeah. Cheers is a program that I watched a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
I haven't watched all of it, but that was on the comedy night when I was growing up as well. So I have massive nostalgia for that. But that, again, looks brilliant these days because they shot it on film. It doesn't have that.
Lovely show.
Yeah. As we're talking about TV and stuff now, at least. What have you been watching recently? Is there anything interesting that you've been up to?
TV-wise?
Or films?
Yeah, see, I can't really think of anything TV-wise, so I'll jump to films. I watched over the weekend a couple of horror movies I wanted to catch up on, which was Primate. I don't know if you've seen that. You've seen that, came out this year. It's quite fun. Chimp, has rabies, attacks everybody, and it's the most simplest horror movie ever, and I love it because it's just simple. I love that about movies where you can just explain it in one sentence. As I get older, I kind of want that. How
is the chimp violence compared to the film Nope?
God, well, it's over the top. It's almost like it's supposed to be like a super intelligent chimp anyway, but it gets rabies and then suddenly it's like evil. It's like, I don't know why it's evil. Suddenly it's like scalping people and taking people's jaws off and using it as own and walking around with it. And I'm like, it's way more graphic than I thought it'd be. But it's actually quite good. I quite liked it. And then I watched is it Lee? I can never say the second name. The Mummy, Lee
Cronin.
Cronin, yeah. I watched that. I want to say Cronenberg, which is a beer or something. But Lee Cronin's the Mummy, which I really liked. I was actually surprised. I thought, because my expectations were pretty middling.
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
No.
Because I think a lot of people was saying, oh, it's not very good. It's not a mummy film. It's more a possession movie. So I kind of went in with those expectations, thinking, oh, yeah. And I really liked it. I thought it was a really fun. It's a slow burn. to get there. But I thought it reminded me of like a 2000 horror movie. We always have that bit in the middle of those movies where they're researching and they go in the library and checking up books and go, oh my
Yeah,
God.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it
And
does.
it's kind of like a nice little throwback, and I quite enjoyed it. And I really liked Evil Dead Rise, which I think was his previous movie. I think he did the same movie, I think. But
Yeah,
I
I think
really liked
that's
that.
why. Because I remember when I saw Lee Cronin's Mummy advertised, I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Why does he get his name on the film?
I
It
suppose
was
if you
like-
think about it though, like years ago, you have like John Carpenter's The Thing. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it's a bit too early to do
Yeah,
that.
John Carpenter had done Halloween by that point,
Exactly.
hadn't he? It wasn't
But
John
I suppose
Carpenter's
it was we thought, well, we need to differentiate it from
the
Brendan Fraser
Universal.
ones
Yeah,
and Universal.
yeah. And that's what I kind of thought. But I remember thinking it was a bit weird, and I was suddenly
Maybe-
thinking we're getting people's names plastered on these horror films very
Yeah.
prominently. Another big example was Osgood Perkins. His
Yeah.
name was like I was like, who's that? Oh, it's the guy who did Longlegs.
Yeah.
And then we've had the two kind of YouTuber, well, three
Yeah.
YouTuber films kind of come out where their names are very prominent. But I kind of like that because it's not, Curry Barker's obsession, but
Mhm.
it's quite nice that we're highlighting the fact that it is a first time director and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I have a weird relationship with horror where I was kind of I never really liked it, to be honest. And suddenly I'm watching a lot of it.
You do seem to be jumping into a lot of it. Like you watched Obsession recently. I've not gone around to that yet. I need to see that.
Yeah, I
Well, very
did.
looking
Well,
forward to
I was going to say is I watched Lee Cronin's The Mummy, and I thought it was okay. There was things I liked about it. So the concept of this film is that someone's daughter goes missing and then kind of turns up in a sarcophagus 10 years later or something like that. The things that I appreciated about it was that it used Egyptian and Palestinian actors. It was in Arabic whenever they were speaking. It wasn't like the Hollywoodified version of Egypt. I kind of appreciated that side of it. What I didn't appreciate was that for a film called The Mummy, they transplanted all of the action to New Mexico, and it became essentially like any other Blumhouse possession-y haunted house film. That's what I didn't like. And I thought there was just bizarre character ideas, like things that characters do in that film, where I was like, why is this?
Yeah.
And I guess all horror has that to a certain extent, because otherwise there wouldn't be a film.
Exactly.
If someone just
You
went
can't-
straight to the police, there would be
There's so much of that in every movie, and it's
But-
like we have to kind of step aside and just be like, just
you
let it
do,
roll.
but the characters in that film were particularly dense.
Yeah.
As I thought.
Do you think, and it's an interesting thing, do you think you would have enjoyed it more if you wouldn't have called it The Mummy? And also you wouldn't have seen the Blumhouse logo at the start? Because I'll admit, when I saw that, I went, oh.
Potentially,
feel
because
like that.
but there's films that have kind of gone into it with not really expecting much, and it has been the Blumhouse. It has been what I
Yeah.
thought was that, and it kind of changed my expectations. A big example of that is, have you seen *Malignant*?
I loved *Malignant*.
I
That was
absolutely
James
loved
Wan
it.
as well.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
James Wan was a producer on this film as well, on The Mummy as
I mean,
well.
he's
He
on
was-
every film though. Isn't
Yeah, it
he,
must
James
be. But I thought that film was great. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I didn't see the twist coming as well, by the way. So when it happened, I was like, "What? This is so cool."
I just loved how daft it was, and
It
I
wa-
feel
it
like I
was
needed
silly.
a bit more. Here, it either needed to commit more to the Egyptian
Yeah.
side of things or be a bit more daft. I did appreciate the gore and stuff like that as well. I thought that was well done. There's a lot of body horror in it that
Yeah, there's
isn't.
a lot.
It isn't like in your face with it. It is a little bit more subtle, but it kind of makes it more creepy in a way. There's one scene in particular where just like someone's toenail gets peeled off,
Oh, it's horrible.
and
I think
like
it's when it's close to something you can kind of relate to. You know, when you stub your thumb in the door or something like that, and you go,
Yeah.
"Oh," when it's with toenails like that. I did that this morning when like my toenail he's been cut, needs to be cut, and I kind of stubbed it a little bit, and then you can feel it.
yeah, but it doesn't end up ripping off all the skin up your shin. in
Well, it
real
might have
life.
done.
It might have done. Oh, not again! Every time. Do you get to the cinema often, Steve? to watch
Yeah,
these
so
films?
I watched He-Man recently. I watched the Master Universe last Wednesday.
I mean,
I'm
you
going,
were always going to watch He-Man at the cinema.
I'm
I
going
knew
tomorrow
that.
as well.
You're watching it again?
I think I'm watching it again. Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, so I love the cinema. I think, I mean, I love the idea of having a really good setup at home, but also I am so distracted by everything else I could be doing at the same time. Where the cinema, it's a big giant screen that I can engulf you or attention. The only thing that annoys me is other people. If a cinema just had 2 seats for me and my wife, perfect. but other people tend to ruin it. Like I was sitting next to someone the other day watching He-Man, and because I was sitting in these like fancy seats with a little table, he had his phone on it, and he kept checking his phone every 5 minutes. And I'm like, are you
It's
kidding me?
infuriating. Did you say anything?
No, because I was
I'm a
like,
kicker offer.
I've done it once before. When I think it was years ago, we went to see that Alien movie, the last Alien movie. It was all right, and this girl kept checking her phone, and I just erupted and said, "Will you turn your phone off, please?" And she went, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then she started rocking. She rocked because you could tell she was just dying to check her phone, just to have
That's
a
really
scroll.
kind of sad in a way,
Yeah,
isn't it? It's
I
like,
kind of wish, in a way, you know, the way you do gigs where you can put your phone away. I wish you could do that at the cinema.
yeah, I'm surprised that someone like the Alamo Drafthouse equivalent, which we don't really have here, doesn't do something like
You
that.
should do
I've
that.
had a good experience of late, but there has been times where I do kick off. Right?
You do. You
I'm a
are. Yeah.
shusher. I'm a shusher, but there was one person who I literally I had enough, and I said, "Please, can you turn your phone off?" And they just looked at me and went, "No."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Okay, what do you do? You can't,
You can't do
you
anything,
can't do
yeah.
anything."
And the
Uh,
staff sometimes just they won't do anything. Like
no, I've had
my
people kicked out though. I will say that
have you have that
I've
actually
been a
worked?
proper character,
Oh,
but
that's good.
I will say my partner Jenna works at a cinema,
There
so
you go.
she's kind of got she can go and get someone to sort some like,
Oh, that's good.
but at the same time she also gets very mad at me if I start shushing and getting. She's like, you can't do that, and I'm like, turn off your phone. I'm it builds up. I'll be polite and then it'll build
Yeah,
up, and I think horrors can be a bad thing for that. But I
exactly.
kind of appreciate the sort of nervous energy that you get in a horror in the cinema. I
Yeah,
think I watched one of
I
the
love that.
Paranormal Activity films. I can't remember which one. They're all the bloody same.
They're all
The
same.
one with the Kinect. The one with
Oh,
that uses the Kinect in it. I think is it the third one?
really is the
maybe?
one with the connector? I don't know. I've seen the
It's
first
really
one
cool.
and
So
maybe some of the others.
the first one's brilliant. I think
Yeah,
it
it's
is
great.
genuinely good. I don't really remember the second, but the third one, the characters are kid. They kind of focuses on kid characters, and they have a Kinect. And the whole thing with Kinect is, I don't know if you remember at the time, if you put it in like an infrared camera at it, it's putting dots everywhere, little infrared
Okay.
dots. So you don't see someone, but you see the dots being
I see an
distorted.
outline. Oh, nice.
So I thought that was quite a clever
It's
way of doing it.
good use of
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
about the
I
only
really
good
liked the
use of the
first one.
Kinect.
I thought the first one was great. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just because again, it's like a relatable thing. You hear like a door open or something like that, something that you can actually happen in your house, and you'd be like, oh god.
Yeah,
They did-
I mean,
they-
yeah, you when you're streaming and people use the sound effects to do the
I hate
knocking
it.
on your door.
Gets me every time. Yeah, I love horror. Like it's probably my favorite genre as I've got older. I find comfort in watching horror movies, which is a weird thing to say, but I particularly like a lot of 80s slasher movies. And I find comfort in watching those. And I always talk to my wife about that, Lind. She loves like romantic movies. She'll watch a lot of Hallmark style things. And it's almost like, you know, when you go to a Weatherspoons and you know the area and you just know where to sit, how they're going to do things, how you get food, what drinks are in there. In the same way with these genres of movies, I suppose, like with a Hallmark, you know it's going to be a nice ending. You're going to have a meet cute. They're going to fall out slightly and then they're going to get back together and then the camera's going to pan out at the end. Same thing with a slasher
The
movie.
Waitrose advert from before Christmas. Or whatever it was.
Exactly. Yeah, like that one we watched for hours. Same thing with 80s slashers as well. You know, there's going to be a final girl. And you know which one it is who's going to survive it and all that. And I kind of find comfort in like kind of, I don't know, just the experience of watching those. And I just love horror.
I don't think genres for that, but I have what I call evergreen films where I will always be in the mood to watch them. But they're a bit weird. They're not necessarily, like the Goonies, like we spoke about earlier, because I watched that on repeat as a kid, but I don't think I'd sit down and watch it now if I just wanted to put something on. But the one that I always come back to is, and it's a weird film for it, is The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, I love it.
There is something about that film where I can just put that on and I'll instantly be in it. I want to watch it all.
Is it impossible to walk past? Say if it was on
Yes,
TV,
yes, exactly.
you've got to sit down and watch the rest of it. It just lures you in, yeah.
I think my horror journey really kind of began in earnest during lockdown because we had seemingly a lot more time all of a sudden. And I know we did have more time, but it's weird because the world has now changed a little bit since lockdown. Because I personally, for example, work from home 3 days a week, whereas prior to lockdown, I never would have worked from home. But there's something about that 6 or 7 months where it was like we had all the time in the world. It was bizarre. I think because it was new to us. So me and my partner, we watched all of the Friday the 13th movies in order.
Yay.
And I was there were films that I had never really watched or had any inkling to watch before, but I kind of grew a bit of an appreciation for for the craft and how to make them interesting, and how it's not just the same film. And that's why I absolutely love, I forget which number it is, but Jason Lives. I think that was like the kind of culmination
It's fun.
of everything, and just stupid enough, just
With the
scary
Bond
enough.
intro and everything. It's like,
yeah,
it's
where
great.
they resurrect him and everything like that.
Brilliant.
But recently, I think because I go to the cinema a lot more often these days, particularly I have like a bit of a movie night with my best mate Keith, and he likes horror, so I've been seeing a lot more. So like this year alone, I've seen Lee Cronin's The Mummy in theaters. I've seen Holcomb, which is a film I'd actually very much recommend. Actually,
I do want to see that. Yeah.
The Mummy, it's an Irish director. Lee Cronin's Irish. Holcomb is directed by a guy called Damien McCarthy. And it is set in Ireland as well. And I grew up in Ireland, so I kind of have an appreciation for something that has Irish influences and themes without being hokey or fake or American. This feels a bit more authentic, even though the main character is Adam Scott.
Yeah.
Doing a turn, I know he's done dramatic stuff in the past, but it is kind of takes you a second to get past the fact that he's not doing a comedy role.
Yeah, because even like in Severance, he's quite quirky.
Yeah.
It's a great show, but he is it's almost like he's playing like a comedy role at times in that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
In Holcomb, he's basically playing Alan Wake. It's kind of like an Alan Wake movie. It's like Alan Wake goes on holiday to Ireland. That's kind of like the idea of the film. So I really appreciated that. And then recently, I have seen the two kind of YouTuber films that have been buzz. So I watched Obsession and I watched Backrooms. Were you familiar with the whole Backrooms lore and memes?
I actually thought it was a video game.
There is many video, there's multiple video games, multiple modes in Fortnite and stuff like that with Backrooms.
It came from like photos people uploading of like odd spaces.
It came annoyingly and disgustingly from a 4chan post originally, but it kind of grew a life of its own, and it's just this weird. I think it was like a real estate listing of the back room of a building. It had like weird, eerie vibes because it had like yellow wallpaper and like this odd carpet and stuff. But the interesting thing about that film is that the guy who kind of popularized Backrooms as a concept through his own YouTube videos that he made 3D animated in Blender is the person that A24 got to direct the movie, and that's become A24's like most successful film of all time already, which is crazy.
I wonder if they're going to be looking at a lot more YouTubers for movies now, because they've got like that Iron Lung Obsession, and I don't know if anything else is on the coming out, but. He seems to be sending a bit of signal to say like people want these kind of fresh approaches to filmmaking.
Yeah.
The only thing with that is that they throw money at just any YouTuber. We're going to get a lot of.
Definitely, but I think that it kind of shows a willingness to. I think that good art comes from constraint, which is why I don't think like you're ever going to really get good art from AI, because it's not art because it's generated, but also. You have there's no abrasion to get there. There's no attrition rather to get there. Whereas like if you give this guy, so Obsession, for example, which I would very much recommend. I think I'm one of the few people who actually preferred Backrooms to Obsession, which is weird for most horror fans, but it's very good. Don't get me wrong. Budget is $750,000, which isn't nothing, but for a film that has a wide release, it is basically nothing. And like, would that film have been any better if he had a budget of 10 million? Probably not.
No.
Almost definitely not.
Yeah.
It would have made it easier to make, but would that have made a better film? And that's kind of what I think about sometimes, is that you have a situation where you can throw $100 million, $200 million at a movie.
I didn't see any marketing for that film either, really. I mean, I thought what marketing was, like all you ever saw was like, oh, the director's young. That's all I heard. It's like about anything about the Backrooms. It's like the director's young. And that's all I saw. I don't even know anything about. I've probably seen a couple, maybe the trailer, and that's about it. But I've not seen any posters or spots on the internet about it or anything like that.
For the Backrooms, yeah.
Backrooms.
The Backrooms had a slightly bigger budget. That was a few million, but still relatively small for a film. But but that was almost a bigger risk in a way, because that guy is a 20-year-old who has never done anything. I think Curry Barker, who directed Obsession, has done a few short films and stuff like that, but he's still an unknown in terms of filmmaking. He is a YouTuber. But yeah, I think that one, it is very much the fact that people, like my 11-year-old nephew will know what the Backrooms is because he plays a Fortnite mode. which
Ah.
combines back rooms with
It's
Skibbity
in
Toilet.
Minecraft as well. I saw that in Minecraft. There was an
He made
add-on.
me
There's
play the back rooms about 2 years ago with him on Fortnite, and I'm just going through these hallways that all look the same, and he's chasing me as the Skibbity Toilet Man. And if he gets you, it just flashes up on screen like a man in the toilet. And I had no idea what Skibbity Toilet was at the time. And I'm like, what the
I
hell are
wonder
these
if
kids
this
playing?
was like, I don't know which way around it would have inspired each other, but the Stanley Parable video game, you played that, where you kind of just wake up and you're in an office and then you're just being narrated to go around, and it's almost like an endless loop. And it's almost, that's what it feels like, what the back rooms is from afar. You're just kind of going through weird corridors and you don't really know where you are, and it's almost playing on your mental stability to where you
There's,
just lose it.
there's been a trend of what they call liminal spaces in games recently. And I think it's more on that thing where it's something that's kind of like eerie, kind of like an abandoned or lonely kind of place. Because there's also Exit 8, for example. That's another horror
Some
film.
film as well.
It's become a very well received film as well, but that's a video game where kind of a similar thing that's like loops of hallways and it's stuff that kind of seems it's like the kind of uncanny valley, something that you can kind of relate to and seems normal, but it's something's a little bit off.
Yeah.
And I think that both Obsession and Backrooms actually lean into that kind of uncanny valley thing where you know there's something not quite right, and that kind of itches something in our brains. I read something once that it was like human brains, we are very much attuned to noticing when something is not quite human. And it makes scientists wonder what evolutionarily why that is. Was there something that looked like us? You know what I mean? It's kind of like an
Yeah.
interesting thing. I know we had like other species of ape that were kind of evolving alongside us, like, Neanderthals and stuff like that. So maybe it's related to that. But yeah, there's that not quite right. You know it's a mannequin. You know it's a CG character. Can't quite get it right. And I think that that's something that with these two films in particular, there's just something that tickles your brain in a kind of creepy way.
Yeah.
But I would definitely recommend Obsession.
Yeah, I've opted to
Backrooms,
see.
I'd be very interested to see what you think of it.
I'm
It's a bit
dying to see them,
different.
but I've opted to see He-Man again. I couldn't get away. I watched it. I loved it, and it was just like I've got to see it again before it goes up the cinema.
So what were your final thoughts on He-Man then? Did you?
Oh God, I absolutely loved it. I went in a little bit apprehensive, thinking they're not going to nail this at all. It's going to be maybe I don't know, maybe a bit too campy or whatever. I don't know what I thought. I was just remember when the trailers were on beforehand, I was like, oh God, is this going to be any good? And it just won me over. I did a little cry in the middle of it. There's a little father figure, like kind of moment in it. It was like a nice little thing there. There's loads of Easter eggs if you're a He-Man fan or just a fan of just 80s stuff in general. There's a lot of that stuff. A lot of passing of the torches and that. But yeah, just overall, I thought it was just exactly what it needed to do, and that's kind of like tell the origin story of this character, which we didn't really have in the other film. And I don't mind being one of those like child of the 80s who were kind of sold to through consumerism and all that stuff. I don't mind that at all because I lived it and I loved it and loved all the toys. So on the screen you see a new toys just flying around and I'm like, yeah, I want that. I want that. My wife was like that. Yeah, that's a toy. It's going to be a toy. He's like, yes. But I just thought it was just so much fun. And I didn't want to just, I don't know, it's not a film you can just stroke your chin to and go, oh yeah, well, this is, where does this play? No, it's just fun. This is exactly what you need from a popcorn movie. And I feel like for the longest time, we've kind of missed out on those movies where you just go and have a good time in the cinema, come back and go, yeah, I like that, it was good. And the obvious thing, like, you're not going to compare it to like Citizen Kane or whatever, like people always do. But I think sometimes we've lost the ability to say, hey, that was fun for what it was and have a good time. Because we have to compare it to all these other big blockbuster hits or whatever these like Oscar nominated movies, and these movies have their place. And for me, I just thought it was just again so much fun. I can't wait to go again.
It is. I've heard good things about it, and it's a shame that it doesn't seem to be performing very well. I feel like it's got a bit of the people prejudging it based on the fact that it is a tie-in or like a reimagining of a 80s franchise. I feel like a very bad victim of this was the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Did you watch that?
Love that as well.
Because I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah.
We're never going to get another one of them because
no,
it just performed so poorly.
I think for this one though, and I read something this morning that there was someone on Amazon was saying that like they're actually not bothered about like the box office. It was more of a kind of an advert for the streaming service. That's basically what they was. I'm paraphrasing it to hell there, but because where other movies get a big budget and are just on Netflix, this has got a big budget, but it's also got a theatrical window. So it's almost
Yeah.
like the number one pre-ordered 4K on Amazon right at the moment, and on the streaming service. So people are waiting. I think just maybe it's just a case of a lot of people don't want to go to the cinema as well. That maybe that's part of it. And also, if you're going to go with your family, how much does that cost to get everyone there? So people just go, I'll just wait until it's on
Yeah, I mean,
Prime.
cinema takings, it's almost like we almost need like a different scale for post-pandemic and pre-pandemic, because like
Yeah.
we've only just had the first film to cross the $1 billion worldwide threshold this year.
So Mario Galaxy.
Which is Mario Galaxy.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, there was, I can't remember which year it was, but I remember there was like 10 films that made over $1 billion one year. And it's like, it's kind of sad that, you know, people aren't going to the cinema as much, but the time to stream is so much shorter now. I mean, I'm talking about
Crazy.
Holcomb, which I watched 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And you can get that on iTunes already.
Do you remember years ago when the film was out in the cinema and you'd have to wait maybe
months,
till like
almost
Christmas
a year.
or something to come out just for the physical, and now it's just weeks.
And then you'd rent it, like you wouldn't buy it. You know what I mean?
No,
It's like
you'd rent
you'd
it,
go
yeah,
to
go to Blockbuster or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think it kind of matters with the theatrical thing. I'm like, I always say this though, like if anyone's like a He-Man fan, and I mean, especially if you're a fan of the original, there's a nice little kind of connection to the original there, and I think it's between the original cartoon, it's got the campy and funness of that, meets a little bit of the grittiness of the other movie, but it's not very gritty, but it's definitely got a connection between those two things. And if you're thinking, oh, should I go to the cinema to see this? I think you should. Because years later you'd be like, oh, I kind of wish I went to see that on the big screen.
It looked like it was definitely reaching for Guardians of the Galaxy vibes based on the trailer. I don't know if that
It's got a
came
bit of
through.
that. It's got a bit of that, but I think a lot of things have kind of done that. And like,
But yeah. But I like that kind of like slightly more optimistic, poppy kind of
It's
thing
that.
that James Gunn's
It's
kind of been
that.
injecting. Yeah.
And I think the best thing about it is probably the one that everyone was quite apprehensive about was Jared Leto. And I'll be honest, I think he's the best part of it. Like Skeletor is hilarious, isn't he?
Is it?
He's
I
very
love that
funny.
that TikTok of the guy saying, "How can you sleep at night knowing that Jared Leto is out there, not out there doing anything, just out there,
Just out there, just exists.
he just exists." Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully they'll find its audience and perhaps get a sequel or whatever. And I'm glad they didn't go down the dark and gritty route, because that would have been. And I feel
lot of
like
people
people aren't really doing that as much anymore, though. They're being
No.
a bit more authentic with things, which I really
Do you know what? The
appreciate.
biggest example of that, and not to have another segue, but as you know, I used to love the show Lost in Space. It's a really campy space show, very funny.
Yeah.
But it was like sci-fi, but funny. I loved all the characters. And then they brought it back for Netflix and made it dark and gritty. And I'm like, what are you doing?
I thought you were going
Why?
to talk about the Matt LeBlanc film.
No, I didn't know what they were doing with that one. Although I think the casting of Gary Oldman as Dr. Smith was great.
Yeah.
That was
I
fantastic.
forgot Gary Oldman was in that. I just remember
but
Matt
the film's
LeBlanc.
forgettable.
Yeah, because I
But,
watched that when I was 9 or whatever.
Yeah.
I
Went to
do not
cinema to see
remember
it.
anything.
I was excited. I remember the soundtrack being good. But yeah, the
Went to
new
cinema.
version of it was just dark and gritty. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, there's so many shows like this. And you just made another one where you had the chance to do something quite fun and unique and to stand out and be just silly space show. Would have been great, you know? And I think you're right. There's a lot more optimism in stories now. And I think that's one of the complaints people have with He-Man, is that they wanted a dark and gritty thing. But I always say that show was aimed at kids.
Yeah.
They can't aim at you just because you grew up. They've got to aim at the kids again, so the kids will hopefully buy the toys, and that's the thing that sells the movie.
I mean, we've had this debate in your chat channel with people around stuff like the Superman film that came out last year. I kind of love that.
I loved
the
it.
grim, dark Zack Snyder stuff is just gone, and we've got this actual hopeful.
I was never a fan of that.
No, it's like, why do you want, like, it's boring. It's just,
Yeah,
everything's
it
so
is.
grim. Like,
Oh God! Like the end of Superman, I loved. I absolutely loved. Like that. The ending was just a cherry. You know what I mean? Just, I don't want to spoil it if anyone hasn't watched the Superman, but the end part of it, where when the song plays and he's sitting on, oh God, that just hit me so hard in the nicest possible way. It's beautiful.
Although in the kind of new DC universe, it looks like we are going to get like darker stuff as well. Did you see the trailer for Clayface, the film that's coming out?
I mean,
that looks
I get it.
a
That
bit
looks
dark.
like it's going to be kind of on par with like the Batman movie, so that kind of makes sense, I guess.
Looks like
a bit
lot
more
of
of a
body
horror.
in it as well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but that
I
is
think
in the
that'd be cool.
same universe as
Yeah.
Superman. Like they are kind of doing a connected.
It's odd, isn't it? I don't know, because I remember James Gunn saying that like he wants the directors to go their own way with these things, but if they connected in the way, like if he wants them to connect in the same way the Marvel universe does, then it doesn't kind of work. But then I don't know, it's more interesting because the Marvels kind of just all looks like the same thing.
I'm actually, against my better judgment, a bit excited for Marvel this year because we've got a Spider-Man film and an Avengers film coming out. And as much as I shouldn't be excited, because everything over the last 7 years has been
True, I agree.
varying shades of
In
mediocre.
exactly the same place. I think you can't not like a Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland.
I think that the director's great, though. He
Yeah.
did Shang-Chi. I think that the practical swinging they were doing. Did you see that behind-the-scenes footage?
Yeah.
And also, I've seen this story where in an interview, apparently, after working 5 minutes with Christopher Nolan, Tom Holland called up Sony and was like, "What are we doing, guys? We need to make films properly." So it's like he's had one good experience with like a
Yeah.
proper film that isn't just a Hollywood, isn't just a comic book film. And he's
Yeah.
like, "All right, guys, let's
I'll
get
have fun with that.
sorted."
I saw do you know what, the Odyssey? I don't know. I think I've got to that point where I watched the original trailer. I switched it off halfway through. I was like, I don't know, I'm done. I used to love Christopher Nolan so much. And then I watched Tenet and I was like, oh, I'd
Tenet
lost it at
isn't
Tenet.
very good, I don't think.
I loved obviously the Batman trilogy. I love Inception and I loved Insomnia and Memento. Loved all those. And then it got to Tenet and I just couldn't be
Have you
bothered
seen
anymore.
Oppenheimer?
No.
It is
Didn't wa-
very good.
I will. It's one of those movies, though. Like I've never watched There Will Be Blood, for example. I always see those kind of
You've
epic
never watched
movies.
There Will Be Blood?
I know this is like my podcast. So like, tell me about There Will Be. Well,
I
no,
drink
it's one of
your
those
milkshake.
movies.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies though where you can't just go, oh, I'll throw that on and watch it. You've got to go,
100%,
no, I've got to watch this and have no distractions. It feels like one of those.
I kind of think though with Oppenheimer, and I watched Oppenheimer in 70mm IMAX, like I made sure to get the full experience. I kind of was going into it going, oh, I don't know if I can be honest with this.
Yeah.
It's like a big long biopic, and I was glued to the screen the whole time. It is very propulsive.
Yeah.
In
I
a way
will
that you
watch
might
it.
not expect for a biopic of a scientist.
I opted for Barbie at the time.
Barbie is fantastic.
It was fun.
I think I might even prefer that to Oppenheimer.
It's a fun movie, yeah.
Yeah, I
Great
absolutely
soundtrack as well.
loved Barbie. Yeah, and I'm just Ken. I sing a lot.
It's great, isn't it? It's good.
Yeah. Ryan Gosling. I saw someone say recently, Ryan Gosling is who Ryan Reynolds thinks he is.
Yeah, it's true. I never really liked Ryan Reynolds, like his work. Not Ryan Reynolds, sorry, Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling, yeah.
Until one year when Blade Runner came out and La La Land, and I was just thrown. I thought La La Land was great. I was never really into musicals at all. But I gave it a chance because that year I got an Odeon pass for the year, and I thought I have to go see anything. And I went in there and I was just transfixed. I thought the soundtrack to that film was incredible. I ended up buying a vinyl for that. And also Blade Runner. I was so worried about that movie because Blade Runner is one of my favourite movies of all time. And it ended up like Harrison Ford being the worst part of the Blade Runner sequel, and Ryan Gosling's part was great. So I kind of needn't have worried really. But yeah, I ended up liking Ryan Gosling after that.
With Blade Runner, I was going to say is that Denis Villeneuve or Villeneuve, I never know how to pronounce it. I say Villeneuve because I think Jack Villeneuve. But anyway, he's my Christopher Nolan now. He's the director where I'm always on the lookout to see what he's doing next.
Do you like the Dune films then? Or
yes,
the
I
Dune
do
films?
very much like the two that have come out, and the trailer for the third one was giving me chills, man. And I think the source material is a bit wacky with Dune, but he's managed to make a very
I think it's epic to watch, and I will see it. But on paper I should be well. No, I've seen them. On paper I should love these, sci-fi epics, the kind of dystopians and that. And it just doesn't do it for me. I don't know what it is. I think it's just a lot of sand.
His hit rate, though, man. He
he's good.
Blade Runner, Arrival, Sicario.
Sicario, great movie as well.
Yeah, and he's doing Bond.
Prisoners.
Prisoners is fantastic.
Is he doing Bond?
He's the director of Bond 26.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Bond hasn't been announced, but
I've only seen like 2 Bond movies in my life. It was never really. I know. Sorry, this is like this. I know it's terrible. I've seen GoldenEye.
This is now your podcast.
I know. I've seen GoldenEye and Casino Royale.
So you've seen the 2 Bond films that are directed by Martin Campbell.
Is that did he do both those?
Yeah, he's almost like the guy that has
Didn't Sam Mendes do one of them?
Sam Mendes did 2 of them. He did Skyfall and Spectre.
No, I haven't seen Casino Royale then. I've seen Skyfall and Goldeneye. Yeah, I've seen those.
Oh, you've not seen Casino Royale?
No, I don't think
Casino
so.
Royale is fantastic and well worth a watch. But that was kind of like the gritty reboot of Bond in a weird way. But Martin Campbell directed it. Martin Campbell, the American director who directed Goldeneye, but also directed the original 80s British drama Edge of Darkness. And he also directed the 2010 American adaptation of Edge of Darkness starring Mel Gibson. So kind of a weird thing where he did the original British 80s one and then did the American one. But I think he might be Australian.
I
but
only watched Goldeneye because of the N64 game.
Goldeneye's great. I love Goldeneye. Yeah.
I just want to see all those parts from the game in there. But I've just never really been a Bond person. Never really got it. I used to be on and I don't know. I mean, because it was like no threat. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
Because you just knew he was just going to get through everything. But I don't know, mate. I keep promising myself one day I'll go and watch them all.
I was going to spoil something then, but I won't. I was going to spoil one of the Bond films for you. But
right.
I better not.
Can you actually spoil Bond?
Do you want me to spoil a Bond film? Do you mind, or shall I leave it?
No, they'll tell me. I'll probably never watch it. I always promise I will, but I probably won't. Maybe this spoiler, maybe it'll make me want to watch it. Go on.
Right, okay, so Bond dies in the last film that came out.
No.
Yeah, Bond is fully dead at the end of...
Fully dead?
Yeah, No Time to Die. He gets poisoned and then bombed, and he's dead.
So how are they making a new one?
But this is the thing. Apparently, Amazon execs are like scratching their heads around. People will be confused because he's died.
It's going to be a prequel.
But they're not really linked, are they? Like Daniel Craig's Bond is dying, but like he's not meant to be the same.
Like
person.
a Mad Max, where they can just do it at another timeline kind of thing.
Why the hell does that matter? Like, it's such a daft thing to get worried about.
It is odd though to watch even if it was like another story of Bond and just keep thinking in your head, it doesn't matter if he gets through this because you know he's going to get poisoned and bombed later on.
Yeah, but
that's
that
kind of annoying,
is we might not do anything in our lives because we're all going to die. Like, what do you mean? But you mean there'll be no peril in a prequel because you know he survives? I get what you mean.
He'll be looking after other people, I guess.
Bond doesn't have a through-line story in that way, though. I don't think that, like, Daniel Craig's Bond is meant to be the same as Roger Moore's Bond. Because that doesn't make sense in any way, because those are set in the 70s and this is set in the 2000s. Do you
think they wrote this ending just to have, like, a bit of a headline so people are like, oh my God, you've got to see this new Bond because this happened?
Because you didn't know about it, so...
Yeah, because I'm not a Bond fan, though. Maybe people might not... or maybe.
I think
feel
it was
like,
more
Doctor Who. I don't know if you watched Doctor Who. The last episode had, what's her name?
Billy Piper
turn up. And it's like, they just wrote an ending just to make everyone go, oh my God.
But that scene, I didn't watch any of those Ncuti Gatwa episodes for no particular reason. I do want to go back and watch them. I just got a bit burnt out. And it did seem like that was a Hail Mary kind of like, we don't know what to do.
They do not know what they're doing. And anything that they could say now, I don't think it's going to live up to it. Maybe that's what the Bond thing is a bit for me. But again, I'm not a Bond fan, so people will be like, I don't care, I just want to see more Bond.
Well, what I think they should do is the Bonds are all kind of soft reboots anyway. There's no, M, for example, the weird thing is it's almost like the Daniel Craig ones are their own stories and they're all linked. I'll just finish my thoughts with this black screen as it's charging. I think what they should do, and again, you will probably won't have much opinion on this because you're not a Bond fan. I think they should set it in the Cold War, make it set in like the 50s, basically, or the 60s, and kind of go that route, because a lot of these things don't make sense in the era of like, do we really want Bond fake hacking the Russians or something? It's not.
Wouldn't you rather have? Maybe this is going to be terrible, like because people are really into Bond. Someone else to come along, go 008 or whatever, and go right, someone else has taken over, and they're going to avenge that, and then carry the story on. And then you've got all your 007s done, and then we're going to carry on with 008.
Well, in that last Bond film, because James Bond is retired, presumed dead for a lot of it, there is a new 007, and it's a woman. That generated some.
The internet loved that.
Yeah, and also in GoldenEye, one of the films that you've seen, a lot of it is about 006, who is played by Sean Bean.
Oh yeah.
There is that. I kind of had this stupid idea where let's make Pierce Brosnan the bad guy. And at the end, he's like, oh, so you're the guy they're calling Bond now.
Oh, that's cool.
And he's like, it would be terrible, but that was my fan fiction pitch.
I kind of wanted something similar in Mad Max, where, you know, in the last movie, where, not the last movie, the 2 movies ago, I guess, because you have Furiosa, where Mad Max is actually, it's just a name that it gets passed on to somebody else. So Mel Gibson would be in the last movie, and he passed it on to Tom Hardy, who's coming across, and Mel Gibson's dying across a car, and he says, "Oh, you got to take my name," you know, and then he becomes Mad Max. Kind of love that idea, but yeah, they never did it.
I think that's an example of what it doesn't really matter if it's the same person or not. It's the film is the film, and I think Bond is in that way. I don't think
I'm definitely not going to watch Bond now because he dies. You ruined it. I'm never watching it now. Scratching that off.
Spoilers. Right, okay, we'll take a quick break and we'll get back and talk about Labyrinth. Hello.
Hello.
This is one of the UHD discs I got recently.
Well, look at that cover. That's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, I've obviously never seen it. But look.
Yeah, give me an original one. Oh my word. That's what I like about a lot of these labels. The cover art
like a
is
book.
just, it's beautiful. Like there was a run of like DVDs they put out for old movies, like Goonies, for example, where they just have a really simple graphic on the front, which was just like a chest of treasure, a treasure chest.
I didn't like them ones. Yeah,
I hated them.
Very homogenized.
It's horrible, and they just have one simple thing, and there's all that original art that was actually made like exclusively for that.
Well, it would have been probably Drew Struzan art for the Goonies as well.
He did everything. Did everything, yeah. And then just
there's
simplified that.
I, as a kid, was obsessed with Star Wars, and there was this girl that lived across the road from me who was about 5 or 6 years older than me, and she was obsessed with Star Wars, and she had all the books, and I borrowed some of the books, and I was like 8 years old reading these Star Wars books that were made for adults, like they were proper meaty big books, and the artwork on a lot of them was by Drew Struzan as well. So they had like custom artwork in that style. This is the one I was on about before, by the way, the one car Y. But this is like, look at this. It like unfurls, and you've got like books and stuff, and then the actual DVD or Blu-ray bit. Oh, that's a book. Hang on. The actual Blu-ray bit is like this. Look, it kind of all comes out.
My word!
And you've got
it's
like
a thing of beauty, isn't it?
This is the one from that year. That's the one from that year, and it all unfolds. Look.
You just don't get the same thing from a streaming service, do you?
No, and these films are hard to stream as well, which is one of the reasons I thought I'd get it. Like they don't really. Have you watched any of his films actually?
No, I don't think I've seen any.
He did. The 2 famous ones are Fallen Angels and In the Mood for Love. And Chungking Express is quite famous as well. But Fallen Angels is like this 1997, I want to say, 6 maybe, Hong Kong film. And he shoots, and it's a British, I think there's a Scottish cinematographer, I think. He shoots in like almost like a slightly fish-eyed lens, and there's a look and feel to everything that feels very like hyper real and very vivid. And I've never really seen anything like it the way it's shot. It's really cool. And then also I just saw these there as I was coming in. FOP and HMV have just had a sale on
wish we had a FOP. I wish we had a FOP. Every time I'm in Manchester, I always go to FOP because it's kind of just it's obviously HMV, isn't it?
But it is. Yeah, they just have a much wider selection.
All the best stuff from HMV in one little place, and I love it. Oh my god, I could browse.
Well, these Radiance movies, it's annoying, but I kind of wish. So they do like. It's annoying because these are just the normal versions, but like the first 1,000 or 500 copies have like the Japanese J card.
Yeah. That's one thing I don't like about these releases is that they have like limited edition versions of them first. Because when I'm going to collect them and then I see like another version which has got the card like outlay thing, whatever it is, and I'm like, oh, I wish I would have got that. But then you get the guilt of something that you didn't even know existed until you got the thing you got. It's silly.
But Radiance are a really cool label, and they've started doing UHDs as well. But these are just normal Blu-rays. But I'll show you what they look like. The kind of J card type thing that they have. You see, like
yeah, you get them on albums as well. I've got a few. Yeah. I've got my Pablo Honey Radiohead. It's got that. I've got the Japanese Radiohead.
I think my Tom York Eraser has that.
Nice.
CD. But I really like it. I really like this. So you like the hover over and it just shows you the normal one.
Yeah, it's lovely.
But yeah, they do a lot of horrors and stuff. But I'll show you the Vinegar Syndrome one I'm getting.
Have you ever seen Garbage Pail Kids?
No.
See, that's on Vinegar Syndrome, and I rewatched that lately with me for a Discord watch party. My wife was there, and she said it was the worst film she's ever seen, and one she had to keep looking away at because there's like characters with snotty noses and all that, horrible. And then right afterwards, like Facebook was showing me, oh, there's a 3-disc Vinegar Syndrome version of this movie, and I keep saying I'm gonna get it and then put it on.
They've stopped selling it since I bought it.
Oh. I wonder, they must have like a limited amount, and then they can, once they sell that, that's it. It must be part of their terms. Because I've noticed like films get like tossed around quite a bit. Like John Carpenter is annoying because I want all the John Carpenter movies, but like they're not. I want them on the same label because it just looks nice together. But they've got some on like Arrow and they've got some on Indicator, and it's kind of annoying. I wish they were all on the same thing.
There's the what it looks like anyway.
Nice.
Oh, hang on, it's not showing.
Yeah, so what I'm seeing. Yeah, I was wondering why, because you were typing. I was like, oh, but I was seeing a search.
There you go.
And we go, oh, right, I guess that's part of these. So go, oh, that's nice, isn't it? Nice slipcover.
But they have,
And that's just sold out now.
yeah, well, or they've just
Wow.
stopped selling it.
Yeah.
Syndrome Explorers they've just released.
Yes. Which I've got a kind of a controversial take on Explorers.
I've never seen it. Well, I've seen some of it.
Right.
And I remember thinking that the spaceship they made was really cool. That's all I remember.
That's the best bit. I will say that. I'll wait until you see it. But that's the best bit of the movie.
I was talking to Vinny about Explorers last episode, because we were talking, kids or teenagers going off into space kind of thing. Flight Navigator, Last Starfighter. Like there's some thematic links there. And
Yeah.
the thing that I was equating it to was, and he had never seen the film. Have you seen Jack?
The Robin Williams movie?
Yes.
I've never seen it. I know of it.
So I think about this a lot. Well, I thought about it a lot as a kid. His like group of friends in that film have a treehouse, and it is the coolest thing because it is like a scrappy. They've built upon layers treehouse of multiple levels in this random tree somewhere in a field, and it's totally unsafe. But it's like 5-story tall treehouse that these kids have made, and I think about that kind of like the way that they'd built the ship, and I think about Jack. In my head, they're linked somehow.
Yeah.
And I remember wanting that treehouse, but I did have a treehouse as a kid.
You had a treehouse?
Yeah, and
you had a tree?
So I grew up in
Wow.
Ireland, and we had land that
Wow.
my great uncle had left to my dad. It wasn't a working farm. We had he grew vegetables, but not for more of like a side hustle, let's say.
Yeah.
Selling cabbages in town.
Nice.
But yeah, so in a tree, my dad built a tree house, but it was more of a tree house on legs as opposed to being built directly onto a branch. Do you know what I mean? So it was kind of surrounded the tree, and it was on like 4 big legs, and it had a ladder and a fireman's pole. And my dad had built all this. I'm surprised when it had an indoor bit and an outdoor bit, and it had a rope slide that went down a meadow, a steep meadow, and landed at. There was almost like a little man-made mountain made of like cut down trees that we had got cut down when we moved into the house that had grown. So it was like really in my head, it was like a proper hill. Maybe it's not as big if I was to see it now, but it was big and dangerous, and we climb up it, and surprised we didn't die.
Yeah, you do that when you're a kid. Yeah.
But it landed right there, so it was like you could go from the tree house to the big fake mountain.
Wow.
Yeah. It was growing up in
I would
Ireland.
have loved the
I was
treehouse.
lucky, really.
There was one in, I don't know if you've seen Monster Squad.
No.
A very fun 80s movie. They have got a really nice treehouse, and I always wanted to be part of the Monster Squad. They all had a little team meeting in there as kids. But yeah, that's a podcast of its own, the best tree houses and movies.
Yeah, so maybe that should be the segment.
Yeah.
Is that the one where it's like all the Universal monsters together?
All the Universal monsters, yeah, because they couldn't actually get, like, I don't think they give the rights to them, so they kind of, like, changed the name slightly of them and
Like
changed the way they look a little bit. Yeah, kind of thing. But it's a great movie. Fantastic.
Okay, right, let's get into it because I'm conscious I've taken up like nearly 2 hours of your time already, Steve. Sorry. Let me just get my notes up. Okay, so Steve picked for me, and I kind of almost forced him to pick this for me because I knew it was going to be this film anyway, so I wanted to prepare it. But Steve picked for me the 1986 Jim Henson directed fantasy movie Labyrinth. I'll just read the IMDb synopsis because I love reading these. I read them in every episode, and sometimes they're a really succinct, nice example of what the plot is. Sometimes they make no sense. But this one is very, very short. Do you know where we're summing up in the Wikipedia page how to do it? So, teenage Sarah journeys through a maze to save her baby brother from the Goblin King. I mean, that is the plot of the film.
Is that it? Oh,
Yep,
okay.
that's it.
That's actually better than asking like your guest to do it, because it's almost like stressful, because you're like, it's obviously a movie that your guest likes, and you're wondering like, have they got to sell it to people who've never seen it? And they're like, oh. And it's because you might have just said it wrong. You didn't articulate it in the way you're articulating it as an adult rather than like a kid with all the fancy of it, you know?
I'm just imagining you panicking then and going, oh, well, they took 24 pictures a second and then laid them out side by side.
Oh, I know nothing about that. No, I absolutely love this movie.
So, right, okay, first of all, Steve, and you're alluding to that, why did you pick this film?
Well, one, it's my favorite movie. For the longest time, Blade Runner. I don't know if you can even have a favorite movie. I suppose you
it's
can.
a bit of a weird thing when
It's a weird. It's like having a favorite color. You know what I mean? And also,
Blue.
as you get older, whatever experiences change in life, you kind of gravitate towards different experiences. And I think the longest time, Blade Runner was my favorite. But completely true to myself, Labyrinth is my favorite movie. I've watched it countless times. It's my absolute comfort movie. It's got a lot of heart. I love the music in it. Again, as I said earlier, I'm not really a musical guy, as in like terms of musical and movies and things. But there's something about the songs and that. I mean, David Bowie, a big fan of David Bowie as well. And it's like a coming of age film that I never really kind of like was able to escape. Some of Labyrinths. I'm always trapped on the Labyrinth when I think about that movie. And I always I was watching it last night just to kind of recap on it. And it always kind of, it's almost like I'm living in that movie. Do you know what I mean? You know, when you get a movie, it feels like you just enter the frame and you're there and you're following the journey of the characters. And that movie to this day, it just gives me a big warm hug. It's beautiful.
It's funny because this film has come up a few times, but that's kind of how I feel about Goonies. The Goonies, I kind of feel like that, where it was such a big part of my childhood that watched it on repeat, because a little bit of Michael Orpheus. My parents ran a video rental shop when I was a kid.
Wow.
Briefly, so we lived on the farm, and then it's a weird situation. We have a farm, and then we're renting videos in the town.
A lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so there was lots of films that I think like I ended up with a few of the films when we stopped running it on like video, like Star Wars special editions and stuff like that, and Short Circuit 2, which is another big one. Up until about a year ago, I'd never seen Short Circuit 1, but I had seen 2 countless times because I was obsessed.
That's really
with it.
weird.
Yeah,
Did you know it was a sequel?
Yes, I mean, it says 2 in the title.
Yeah, but like, you know, when you're kids, sometimes you don't see the title. You know what I mean?
I remember my perception of what Short Circuit 1 might have been was skewed massively by the Amstrad CPC game, which involves going in, and I think all the home computer versions were similar. You're just like going from room to room, almost like a stealth game. And I remember thinking, what the hell is this film? This isn't like Short Circuit I know.
Not as good,
Yeah. I still think, even now I've seen the original, I still think it's better. So yeah, so Labyrinth, I watched last night. I watched it on 4K UHD. What I was going to say earlier on is, before we start recording, I started watching it on Prime Video because I couldn't be bothered.
It's easy. It's convenient.
Yes, exactly. And I watched like the opening scene, the opening CG animated scene, and like about a minute of the actual film. I was like, why am I doing? I have this on 4K, and I went and
That's a question for you, because I don't have the 4K one. I've got Blu-ray, and I've actually watched the streamed version before. What is it? Does it look a lot better?
I mean, I only watched a couple of minutes of it, so it's hard to say. I think that what you get, no matter what, with digital versions is a higher bit rate and kind of like a more temporally like solid image. You don't get any stuttering or stuff like that. So I think you're always going to be better with physical. In terms of like, you know, how like I would have to watch them side by side. I couldn't tell you based on that minute.
Because that owl at the start of the movie, for example, is like the first like CG animal in a movie.
And
I
that
was wondering.
surprised me when that came up. I was like, wait a minute.
That's a good fact, isn't it?
I did not know that it was going to
I was
start with
wondering if
actual
like
CG.
the 4K version of it would kind of still look good, or it's still okay, because
What, the
obviously
owl?
it's like the owl, yeah.
Yeah, no, it did. And I
Still
think a
good.
better example of that was when I watched The Last Starfighter recently, which has a lot more of the early CG. I mean, it's just very crisp and like though that early CG has no rough edges. That's the whole thing. It's perfect polygons. So I don't think it's made worse or better really by the 4K. I think it just presents it as it is. And I thought the owl looked fine. I thought what was weird is the kind of weird like mirror effects and stuff that they were using with it. They were like, wow, we can do CG. Let's do all this.
There's some things as an adult where you'll watch and go, oh, because like right at the end where it zooms out of Sarah's room and you just see like it's a projected kind of digital image.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, you don't question those things,
No.
obviously, but as an adult, you do.
The worst example of that in any film, I think, is, have you seen 50 First Dates, the Adam Sandler movie?
Yeah, I have no memory of it.
That ends on a boat, and they're like
Ironically.
inside a boat, ironically. And they like zooms out, and it's like the end of Labyrinth, but 100 times worse. It's clearly stitched on in the most terrible way. I was kind of like, this kind of set the tone in terms of like, this is very 80s. Like that was kind of the first thing. And in my head, I know that there was going to be a lot of puppetry, a lot of Jim Henson Creature Workshop kind of things in there, a lot of matte paintings. I didn't expect the computer graphics straight away. And it kind of almost was a bit like, oh, right, okay, I didn't expect this. But it looked good. It looked fine.
Because Jim Henson was always trying new stuff and he always wanted to be kind of ahead of the game in terms of like tech. So if he would have done a whole movie with like CG if he wanted to. I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad he kept it like this because it feels real, and for the most part, that movie just feels like timeless now because it's all there on the screen, all there, right there. They could feel like you can go and touch. I think I'm a massive fan of Jim Henson as well. I love The Dark Crystal. I don't know if you've ever seen that, and maybe someone will get you to watch that at some point. But I remember the very first time I saw this or thought of it as I just saw a clip on like the equivalent of whatever GMTV was back in the 80s, and I remember seeing a clip of like the Bog of Eternal Stench and seeing Ludo and that there, and I was like, oh my god, what's that? And I stuck in my memory. And then when I was able to watch it on TV, because that's when I ended up watching it, I was supposed to go to Southport that night to stay at a mate's, so travel away from Liverpool there. And I remember watching that movie just before I went, and all the way there in the car, I was just like this. I couldn't stop thinking about the film. You know, have you ever had that when you're young, where something hits you like a ton of bricks?
Yeah.
That movie did. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I kept having the Magic Dance song in my head, and at the end, with the "Should You Need Us," that twist, like it's almost like breaks your heart and fixes it. That at the end, we go, "Should you need it?" It's just the most saddest thing about leaving your friends behind, and then they go, "Actually, we are here. You should have said," and they all danced. That bit, I'm getting chills thinking about it now. Like that moment in that film always gets me. It's just such a beautiful moment.
That moment. So at the end of the film, I was kind of like thinking, oh, this is kind of like a very melancholy ending that I would have predicted. And then they kind of pull the rug from you and like, oh no, we're still here. Because what I was thinking straight away is I think one of the, and again, it gets me like that. I think probably because of my age when I watched it and stuff as well. Monsters Inc., the end of Monsters Inc.
Oh, yeah.
When you just kind of see they've reconstructed the door and Sully opens and then he just kind of like has like a happy, like shocked look on his face. And I'm like, I'm kind of glad that was it. Though we didn't see Boo older. We didn't see anything. It was one and done. Now, they'll probably do a Monsters Inc. 3.
Yeah.
I know the second one was a prequel, so I didn't ruin that. But I kind of didn't want anything else. And I kind of like that sense of what next, what if. But I also appreciate that Labyrinth didn't do that because that's not what it was trying to do. Like, I'm not saying it's wrong that it did that. I just thought it was an interesting thing because I was
now when people watch it, if you watch it as an adult, a lot of people just think she's insane now and she's been left like just mental because she's got all these puppets in her room and she's dancing and her dad's downstairs, and if the dad comes in and opens the door, she's just like this, goes, yeah, have you met my magic friends, Dad? This is great.
Just full on psychosis.
He's just there, she's like, okay, it's almost like, Alice Madness Returns or something.
Oh,
but as a kid, I never thought of that. Like, I just thought, I was that kid. I wanted friends like
Yeah,
that.
I think that people try and read stuff like that into films when it's not there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you have things like the modern Alice in Wonderland films, or like Drop Dead Fred. Actually, is a
I
good
was
example.
literally going to say Drop
Yeah,
Dead Fred.
where it's kind of like the person has thought it was just a nonsense thing that never happened.
That scene in Drop Dead Fred reminds me of that scene. You know, the end where, like, all the way through, he's just being obnoxious and silly and all that, and then he hits you with this incredible emotional weight where they're in that room and says, I've got to leave you now. You don't need me anymore. Oh, my word. Like, just talking about Rick Mail with his, like, range that no one got onto, just thought he was just silly.
Yeah.
And then you see him in that movie and how amazing he was. That scene, it just sticks with me forever, and it just kills me, destroys me. And then it has the turnaround, similar to the way what Labyrinth does, but in
You
a
see him play with someone else.
yeah,
like it's
more in a
moved on.
poignant way
Yeah.
because she's got to go off with her life. But it's another coming of age example. But it's very similar turnaround to what Labyrinth does.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love those moments.
Yeah. As a film, Drop Dead Fred's a film I should probably revisit as an adult.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not really a kid's film at all, but I watched it.
No, it's not. That's
I
probably
watched
why it
it
didn't
as a
work.
kid.
Probably why it didn't do well.
Yeah,
because it
but
does well for
I
lots of
liked
kids.
it. But I think it's because I liked Rick Mail. I liked Bottom at the time.
Mm.
I was like, it's probably 6 or 7 when I watched that.
Just probably
too
wasn't
young.
marketed well over in America because there was
No.
this big chance to do something, and yeah, but it was very adult. Obviously, there's a bit where he's like going under women's legs and talk, all that stuff. It's like that in a kids' movie. You're like, God, no wonder it didn't work.
So yeah, I appreciate that. But when you're talking about this kind of timelessness as well, like as it starts, I was like, what are we doing here? Are we in Victorian times? Like it kind of has a timelessness, but then you see quite clear, like she has like modern things in her room.
But they're all her influences and how it's setting up what
there's
the
MC
movie's all
Escher
about.
posters in there.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
It's all.
yeah.
It's almost like for the longest time I didn't realize this. I'm a massive fan of Alice in Wonderland from when I was a kid, and I loved the Disney film. And it only hit me over the last few years. Like, wait a minute, my favorite films, Labyrinth. Those movies are like the same idea.
But yeah, it is so Alice in Wonderland.
And I never really
Coded.
thought about it. It's the same kind of thing, isn't it? A girl going missing, going on a big adventure. But it's the same kind of principle. But yeah, what makes this film incredible and timeless and rewatchable is there's so many clues in a bedroom to what the movie is. That there's all like plushy characters of the characters in the movie right at the start. There's a picture of David Bowie on the newspaper on the mirror.
I didn't notice that.
There's a whole idea of like her real mum was a dancer and went out with David Bowie's character. So she's got this kind of thing going in her head about this guy going out with a mum, and that's why there's a whole like you have no power
We're
over
getting
me.
into lore of like he
so
only looks
much.
like David Bowie because of that, maybe.
Oh yeah,
because he doesn't
But
look like a goblin.
it's so good with that. So you can rewatch it and then see all those things in a room, and it obviously plays with the room later on about the importance of stuff and the identity and of like all the things that make you. Because then later on when she's still in the labyrinth, but the room's being kind of like disconnected, I thought that was just a genius thing of doing that as well. Oh God, I'm gonna watch it again.
So, one of we kind of first get introduced to like the goblins and the kind of I was going to say Muppets, but the puppets. Quite early on, we kind of get flashes that they're seeing our world somehow. And obviously, the thing is, so for viewers or listeners that don't know, the raid alert on Steve's channel is the goblins all kind of.
That makes sense to you now.
Yeah, that makes sense to me now. Because the weird thing is, you've done a bit of a Ready Player One where you're mixing and matching things where it's like that scene, but it's mixed with Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
But we see them, and my God, the puppets look good. And
They're great, don't they?
the thing is, but I love puppets, right? It sounds a bit creepy. I love like puppets used well. There's actually, I just recently watched The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is the most. It's fine, it's fun. It's the most milquetoast pointless film ever, but there is an extended sequence in the film which just focuses on Grogu and the Babu Freaks, and they're all physical puppets. And yeah, they're enhanced and augmented with CG or whatever, but a lot of it, there's like a 10-minute, almost reminded me of WALL-E, like a silent movie, where Grogu's just off trying to do things on his own. And I was like, we need this. There's a physicality to puppetry that you just don't get. And it's not a criticism of CG, because I think CG is fantastic, and I think that a lot of people who say we have too much CG probably misunderstand. It's like, we don't have too much CG, we have too much CG used as an excuse for doing things properly as
Yeah.
a plaster, you know.
Instead of
Exactly.
as
Whereas
well as.
real,
Yeah.
the best CG is the CG that you don't even notice.
Yeah.
And there's like even a little scene where Grogu unfurls like this. He has some medicine wrapped up in a leaf, and he unfurls it, and he's like the fingers aren't moving. He's just someone jamming this thing, and he really lingers
Yeah.
on it. And I'm like, you're showing the edges in a really
Yeah.
nice way.
Oh.
And this film is absolutely filled with them moments of like believing that something is a real person when they are literally just bits of latex and fur and all sorts of stuff that are
Yeah.
glued together. And there's that initial scene where you see so many of them all at once bunched together. I think that
Yeah.
adds to the realism because you're not seeing the seams, you're not seeing
And
the
it plays with
puppeteers.
darkness quite well. Like I always say this, but Jim Henson always said that kids need a little bit of darkness in their life, and I agree with that. And the balance they have in this, because you initially see all the goblins, you're like, oh my god, but then you've got the voices that kind of transcend it into kind of almost like Monty Python-esque comedy, where one of them like, did she say it? Did she say it? And everyone's like, shut up, and it makes you laugh, but then also cuts back to Sarah and the baby's missing. That's actually quite scary for a kid to watch, but then cutting it with those goblins and making the goblins like almost like the comical part of it, the light relief, it's incredible.
It's funny because this is going to sound odd. I kind of didn't realize that David Bowie was the bad guy in this film. And I know he's kind of like a bit of a, it's not a black and white bad guy.
No.
But
No.
I kind of almost thought in the bits of this film I'd seen in the past or whatever, that he was like some kind of guide or like he had more of a, anti-hero kind of a role. But yeah, they are bad. Like there is an evil undercurrent, or maybe not evil, but like a very self-serving undercurrent, and a bit creepy at times as well. Like there is the kind of plot to, they're stealing a baby to become, I guess, like
but that's like an old-fashioned fairy tale.
It
kind
is,
of
yeah.
trope,
But then
isn't
he
it?
also starts to kind of lust after ostensibly a teenage girl as
It
a
is
love
that,
interest.
yeah. And it's something that I think about now as an adult, but as a kid, you don't. There's definitely like that's hinted on, but obviously not explored. But I think that was just, I don't know, I don't know how to even explain that. There's probably some story element of that which I've never really explained.
So the plot of the film is that baby Toby gets stolen, and there is a time limit for Sarah to try and retrieve the baby from the Goblin's castle by going through a labyrinth. And we see these amazing map paintings of what the Goblin world looks like. And you see the labyrinth, you see the things beyond it, you see the castle. And that's another thing where, man, this craft of map paintings and set extensions is so beautiful. This particular late 80s era, I think, has some of the best. I know that there's one scene in this film as well which has the largest panoramic backcloth ever made in the Goblin City. So that it was the film was primarily shot at Elstree here in the UK, and it kind of give me, I mean, obviously there's crossover in the talent involved, but for past the plunger in this podcast, I watched Little Shop of Horrors, and there's kind of the similar vibes in this in a way, in terms of things are clearly on a set, but in a way that I appreciate, like Batman 1989 or something like that, where this has been very physically made, and there's lots of map paintings and set extensions which are overlaid in camera to make you think that things are bigger than they actually are. But I love that look and feel. It's
part and parcel of the theme, really, isn't it? Like where Sarah's running down the alleyway, you know what I mean? And there's the map painting right at the end. You can see obviously the map painting, but then when she crosses into another like exit, and like, oh, that's actually, she can walk through it. So it's always playing with your expectations anyway. So you kind of forgive it for that. Also, as a kid, you never think that everything's a drawing.
It is weird though, like as an adult, I'm seeing those scenes, but liking them. I'm appreciating them. And I think that's a lot of how I approached this, or ended up viewing this film. When we were talking earlier about like, watching the Goonies as an adult, when you do it, I don't think like I loved this. I liked it, but I think more than anything else, I appreciated it. Do you know what I mean? I don't have that connection that of having watched it, as because you were what, like 6 or something when this came out.
Yeah, and I always think about that. It's a very interesting thing to think about, that when you come across these things. Like, for example, I always talk about like Highlander. The first time I ever come across, have you seen Highlander before? I talk about
no, but you feel free to spoil.
I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm going to say it's about an immortal, right?
Yeah.
So it's about an immortal.
Yeah.
And it was the first instance when I was a kid of like seeing a film or the character of the idea of being immortal and realizing there are bad parts to that. Because you'd outlive your loved ones. And when I was a kid, I never even thought about that. And I remember being really depressed after watching it. Like, all I could think about was that. I was like, that's really sad. And so when I got to Labyrinth, and there was a lot of themes in there that I'd never really explored through like school or other mediums, I like friendship and loss and all that stuff. And I think that kind of stays with you, and that kind of first impression kind of stays with me. So watching it as an adult, because you've obviously battled through all of these other emotions and these themes in your life, it probably doesn't even touch the sides in that respect.
Do you know what I think my version of this film is? Is Jumanji.
Wow. I mean, it hasn't got the puppetry, is it? It's definitely got a lot of
It's got
CG.
a lot of bad CG. I thought there's some
Yeah.
puppetry. I
I
think
get
there's
it, though.
puppetry.
Do you
I think
mind,
it's that kind of.
Robin Williams has got the warmth, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's definitely got the warmth.
I was just trying to think, like, what is this kind of? When you were saying, like, you saw the links between, like,
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland, for example. I don't know why. I kind of, as I was watching it, I was almost thinking of Jumanji a little bit, and I don't know why. I don't think it's very explicitly similar, but I think that there was some vibe that I was getting that was kind of making me think about how I felt watching Jumanji, because I was 6 when Jumanji came out, so
Wow.
like I would have been that kind of perfect age to have that wonder and that kind of, again, slightly dark edge. I mean, this little boy being trapped in a board game for 30
really
years.
Dark. That idea is so dark.
The main two characters' kids' parents died. It's like,
wow, God, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of was feeling a bit of that. But one of the things that I kind of want to say about, like, as we got through these different areas of the labyrinth, I do really appreciate one, very Alice in Wonderland straight away. She meets Hoggle, who is kind of her companion for most of the film, but she also meets the worm, and that is so Alice in Wonderland. That is
So
the
classic.
most Alice in Wonderland part of the film, I think.
So is that the first time you've ever seen the worm? You haven't seen it
the image.
outside of it?
I mean, there's many imagery. There's many things in this film that I've seen bits of.
Yeah.
Just through
Yeah.
cultural osmosis, like
Yeah.
Dance Magic Dance, for example. I know the song,
Yeah, great.
and through your channel, I know all the little goblins huddled together. But yeah, so I'd seen that. I probably didn't know it was from this, but I'd definitely seen the image of that worm. But again, so beautifully puppeteered and then superimposed in a way to make it look smaller, but without looking fake. It just brilliant craft on
great.
display. And that kind of perspective shift of being able to, I can finally see, I'm actually looking, and being able to kind of slide through to the different layers of the labyrinth through perspective. And that's shown in a couple of other scenes in interesting ways. And it's very video gamey, based on like a lot of video games that come out now. We're talking about stuff like Stanley Parable and that kind of game where you shift perspective and see things differently. There's like a random, just as David Bowie's character Jareth walks past in one scene later on, you kind of see that the rocks had made a face, but then as he walks past, they kind of shift. And
so much of that.
Yeah, it's just so beautifully crafted kind of set design and stuff like that. And all physically there, that's the thing. Either physically there as a matte painting, or in that case, like, they look like real rocks. They're so, like, there's an attention to detail that just really
And in the
oozes
same
off
way,
the
like
screen.
the structure and the environment does that, so does the language as well. Like, there's so much kind of looping around in the way people talk. Like, even the worm saying, like, "Oh, go the other way," and then she's like, "Okay," goes that way, and she's like, "If we would have went that way, went straight to the cast." There's so much of that. The language is a
That's very
labyrinth in
Monty
itself.
Python. And
It's so
also,
funny.
I had no idea until the opening credits straight away. Two things I noticed in the opening credits was, one, Terry Jones was the screenwriter for this film, one of the original Python, well, one of the Pythons. And as well as that, I really appreciate that they put a lot of the performers front and center, the puppeteers and the creature performers front and center, as opposed to just like hidden in the end credits, because there's very few people in this film that aren't puppeteered in some way. Like, Hoggle is an actress, Shari Weiser, in a suit, but then Jim Henson's son Brian is controlling the face with a remote control.
Yeah, and
so like there's multiple people controlling, or apart from David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly, pretty much everyone in the film.
That's it. Interesting about Terry Jones, though. So apparently the original script, like, he wrote, was really dark, and it got passed around a lot until Jim Henson was happy with it, because I really want to see what their original script was, but I think like people died and things like that in it. So I'm glad it didn't end up like that because it was perfect as it is for me. But it did go through a few redrafts, to get to end up what it actually was. But he's commented on it before.
I wonder who would have died. Ludo, maybe. He just like walked into the
Ludo
bar.
just a shot in the heart or something like that.
Ludo is such an interesting designed character as well. When I was looking up some of the production around this film, a guy called Ron, I don't know how to pronounce his surname, Mweck or Mech, was the person who both created and crafted. He's actually a sculptor by trade as opposed to an actor or a puppeteer primarily, but he performed as Ludo, he created Ludo, and he did the voice of Ludo. So it was kind of like his creation within the film as this kind of lumbering, perhaps a little bit simple, but kind-hearted and in tune with the environment character. Mm-hmm. And I did love the little things that they do. Like, there's a bit where, in order to free Ludo, these rocks just start rolling towards Sarah, and she picks them up and do them. And I kind of didn't even really think about why that was happening because it's such a fantastical world. And then later you kind of find out that Ludo has this connection to the rocks. They're his friends.
Yeah.
And I love the idea.
Crazy, isn't it?
Well, I love the idea that everyone else would just disregard a rock. It's just a rock. But this creature, he's like, no, these are my friends. I'm going to communicate with them. And it's kind of like a kind of touching thing.
It's interesting because as an adult, you kind of think, oh, wait a minute. If you control the rocks, that means if a wall is made out of rock, can he control the wall? Can he control the cave? You know what I mean? You think like that. When I was a kid, you're like, yeah, rocks. That makes sense. We don't have to fill in the gaps.
Did he need the rock? Did he need her to pick up the rocks, or would they have just gone and done it themselves?
Exactly. You also got to do the call. There's no other way of doing it. So if someone just put a mouth over them, could he not call them then? Could he whisper to the rocks?
Rock Whisperer. That was the original title.
Rock Whisperer.
That's the spin-off. That's phase 4 of the Labyrinth cinematic universe.
There's apparently a sequel in the works, so you never know.
Is it a sequel or is it like a redo?
I think everything nowadays is like a what do they call it, a soft reboot, where they connect it in some way, but it's like a redo, but a soft reboot. In the same way the Jumanji did, where they connected to the original Jumanjis. I think they're doing that.
The Jumanji had the weird thing as well, where there was a direct sequel that no one really.
Oh yeah, the space one.
Zathura, which was actually very good. It was a John Favreau.
I wasn't against the rock ones. I thought they were all right. I thought they were quite fun for what they were.
They were okay, yeah.
Obviously the original one's got Robin Williams.
Is it not Robert Eggers that's tied to a Labyrinth?
Yeah, and I love Robert Eggers. I don't know if he's the right one for like a Labyrinth movie.
We'll have Lily Rose Depp as Ludo.
I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, do you want to say a lighthouse version of the Labyrinth?
Willem Dafoe is Jared. Just talking about you spilled your beans. Have you seen The Lighthouse, actually?
I love The Lighthouse,
it's very good.
I do like Robert Eggers quite a bit.
I've not seen The Witch. I need to watch that.
Well, I love Witch. Love that. I didn't like Nosferatu that much because I thought it was just another, let's tell that story again. And it just felt like by the numbers. Looked incredible, stylized, but it was just another, like, a vampire story that we all know and love.
Just put unhinged Willem Dafoe in any film and I think it's made
you do. Yeah, just doing the Green Goblin voice all the way through. Like, Sarah,
he takes the little cap out of his teeth to give himself the gap.
It could work in it, actually, but I think they'll probably put someone like Sabrina Carpenter in it as a main role. I think that's what they'll do.
It will be.
It's not for me, really.
McKenna Grace. That's who it'll be.
Someone like that, yeah.
McKenna Grace, the actress who, whenever you needed to do a flashback scene of a blonde main character, you cast her for about 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, she's in so many films in flashback scenes.
I think I've only ever seen Ghostbusters with her. That's it, maybe. Maybe. Oh, did you think she was in the latest Scream? New Scream.
I've heard the new Scream is utterly terrible. I've not seen it yet.
It's awful. Yeah. It's awful, yeah.
So when you say you're not really a fan of musicals, I was expecting this to be a bit more musical than it was. You only really have one scene that is a musical. Well, there's two, kind of, I guess. There's the magic dance scene, which I think is brilliant.
The Fireys.
You do have the Fireys as well. So there is a few.
And as the world goes around, and Within Without You, the Within You, so the one with the Escher steps.
So I'm talking absolute bollocks then. Thanks for schooling me. The two that I was thinking of primarily, though, were Dance Magic Dance and the very creepy scene where she is inside the orb. The dance scene. I didn't dislike it, but it's tonally kind of a bit of a shock compared to what had happened before, where you would you've almost left the fantasy world for this kind of like
Yeah, he's trying to kind of
ball,
empower her
masquerade
and
ball.
kind of get her on his side, and they can kind of rule together. And so he doesn't go after Toby. It's kind of like a weird obsession persuasion.
Yeah.
Like, you can see that he's kind of getting obsessed with her, and he's trying to use the magic. And I think a lot maybe at the time forget. I mean, like, I can't talk like a teenage girl, obviously, from that perspective. But maybe there's a thing of like being able to stand up to that was quite
Yeah.
good. You know what I mean? And being empowered, I guess, at that time. But yeah, I just love the song and all of the outfits and everything at the time. I was obsessed
It's a
with
bit
that
like a bit
soundtrack.
Eyes Wide Shut. I thought.
See, this is why watching it as an adult is a different thing. You're bringing in Stanley Kubrick. It's a Labyrinth. Come on.
The fiery scene is the one scene of the film that does not look very good, I think.
Nowadays, that was the one that scared me as a kid.
It's
Like, really
an
scared me,
example
'cause-
of another type of puppetry, though, that I appreciated. That it's like the black velvet background, actors
yeah.
wearing the puppets as almost as suits, but the compositing, the way it looks very 80s, very harsh black lines, very they're clearly not. They're clearly in front of like a green screen or a black velvet screen.
Yeah.
And I did read that apparently Jim Henson was very unhappy with how it looked, but
Yeah.
the puppeteering was good enough that
That
he
was
still wanted to
fantastic.
keep
and
it
the
in the film.
song carries it as well. I mean,
Yeah.
that song was originally sung by David Bowie, and it was a very different version of the song, and then it just wasn't working, so we just gave it to the backing singers, and obviously Danny John Jules as part of that.
Danny John Jules,
and ran away
very
with it.
surprised to see him in the credits. But also, this is one where we get Kevin Clash as well is one of the Fireys, and Kevin Clash's voice would later, or around this time actually, become iconic as the voice of Elmo. But he's a puppeteer throughout the film.
Yeah.
As well as Steve Whitmire. It's funny when you notice names of people who are ostensibly puppeteers. It's kind of
Part
cool.
of the family.
Like,
Yeah.
so Steve Whitmire became Kermit after Jim Henson's passing. I wish he was still Kermit. I think there's politics involved, because I think the current voice of Kermit isn't very Kermit sounding, which is a bit
There's
weird.
so much controversy about that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's
I don't
lots
know
of
where to stand on
controversy
it.
around Kevin Clash as well, but we won't get into that. But brilliant performances and brilliant puppeteering. It's just that definitely took me out of it. Whereas I think if I'd watched it as a kid, I'd be like, "Oh, this is cool," or frightening.
I never
or...
question it watching it, because
Yeah.
I've just got that nostalgia around it. So like it's interesting to have you just
I
watch
think for
it.
me it was a case of
is.
everything looked so beautiful and so handmade and so real and in camera that it was a kind of a bit of a jarring thing. So suddenly we look like we're in more of almost like a TV show. Like it looked a bit.
I think for me as a kid, I think it was the threat took over it, because it was like it was a lot. Like I said before, there's a lot of darkness in this movie, and so the whole threat of like, oh, just take off your head. To be like us and take off your head. I remember being a kid, oh my God, that's scary. And the singing, why do you just take off your head like me? And it was like a really good song. I remember loving the song, but I was also kind of creeped out by the whole idea of just being able to take your head off. It's like, I don't know if you've seen the film Return to Oz.
No,
Again,
I've seen bits of it. I've seen the wheelies.
There's a Queen character which was more scary to me than the wheel. Everyone says the wheelies, but this Queen character who can change her head, and she's got this room full of false heads that she's change her head out. That has scared me, so that kind of connects to this a little bit. Yeah, that bit was very creepy.
It kind of there's a character in Neverending Story that kind of twists its head as well, that I remember thinking that was a bit. But I remember thinking, because I think I watched the Neverending Story cartoon before the movies as a kid.
Wow.
And the cartoon, it's much more, oh, this is actually its head turning. Like and I remember thinking, oh, they couldn't do this properly in the film. It was like, they had an idea. But yeah, there is like that creepiness to everything, and that not sure, if someone like Hoggle, for example, there's like a lot of back and forth. Is he actually on her side or not? And he has that internal kind of turmoil of not wanting to be punished or fall in bad books with the Goblin King, but not wanting to betray his new friend, who is his only friend. Like, no one has kind of become his friend.
Yeah.
Apologies. And then we have, I can't remember the name of the character, but the Sir, you'll know it after
Sir Didymus.
Sir Didymus.
My favourite character. I love that character. He's so funny.
Very Python-esque character.
So unaware, and but he's so hilarious, and he's got his dog as well, which is played by a puppet and a real dog.
Yes, and he's funny how clear.
And ferocious.
I did kind of like how clear it was when it was a puppet, but I appreciated it again. It wasn't
Yeah,
like
it's funny.
seeing these themes. There was a bit in that film, and I do wonder if something was cut out or something, because there's a bit there's a battle in the Goblin City, and he bangs his nose, and I was
Yeah.
like, is he now going to be able to smell the stench of the bog? Has it unblocked something? I was like, I
Yeah, I
wouldn't.
never thought about that. Maybe.
Yeah, because he very clearly showed him banging his nose, and I was like, oh,
Yeah. Because it is, I love that whole thing where he looks after the Bog of Eternal Stench, and everyone's just really like, oh, this is the worst smell ever. And he's like, this is a great smell. What are you talking about? I love that. The air is pristine, or something he says. It's so good.
Incredibly
Yeah.
Python, the way it turned out. You
totally.
just needed to ask him as well.
Yeah. Can we, yeah, without my permission. Yeah. It's so good. The whole battle with him and Ludo was funny as well. Ludo's just standing there whacking him. And you think, but I always think about this. There's a bit where Ludo whacks him and he disappears. And I think if he would have left that any longer, even a second longer, there would have been too much peril for a kid. You think, oh my God, he's actually killed.
You should have yeeted him across the box.
Yeah, because he disappears and then he instantly comes back out of a hole and he goes,
Love the
oh,
way
now
he
we'll be
pops up,
friends.
though. It's so
yeah,
well
it's so
choreographed
good.
and so
it's
well.
so good.
Yeah.
A lot of the Dante, or a lot of the choreography in this film, actually, I think maybe mostly in the dance scene is done. But I can't remember her name. I have Isis here. You know the Doctor in TNG, Next Generation.
Yeah, I know.
Trek.
I know the
Completely forgot her name.
Yeah, I don't
but
know.
she was involved in this movie
really?
doing the choreography, which
Interesting.
is quite cool, isn't it?
I did notice in the end credits there was crystal ball choreography and choreographed and performed by such and such a person, because I was thinking, is someone's hand in here doing it for Bowie? Because
literally his hand's behind there, and there's a guy, if you see his behind the scenes photos, he's behind Bowie like that.
that's
quite
amazing.
funny.
Again,
so
though,
good.
that's brilliant that you can just do that. Like you can just it's
Why
that,
not?
it's that yeah. The only other scene I really want to highlight that I thought was really good and creepy, and I feel like has been almost a film that I haven't seen, but I've seen bits of. Pan's Labyrinth. I feel might have took from it. Is the shaft of hands, which
I love that.
which I thought was such a creepy and well done thing, but also apparently had 150 live hands to do it.
Look at the behind the scenes photos or videos of that.
This is a film I am going to
incredible.
consume some behind the scenes stuff, which I probably should have done before we recorded about it.
So funny. It's so well done.
It kind that because it's kind of like the personality and again the choreography of them, how their hands come together to make little faces and eyebrows and things like that. It's just so perfect, and it's like which way do you want to go and stuff like that. It's just brilliant.
And it's playing with the darkness of it, because obviously it's like she thinks she's picked the wrong door. So she thinks, oh, she's going down, and down means to sit in doom or whatever. And then they're like, oh, which way do you want to go? And he goes, well, I'm already going down. So, and that kind of plays with the emotional weight. He's like, well, she's kind of still in charge, so she'll be all right. She's not going to be in charge and then die. So I thought it was a great way of doing it.
So yeah, I think that ultimately with this film, I wanted to just touch as well on the MC Escher-esque scenes, which are again a beautiful mixture of physical set and matte painting. But there's one bit that really stood out to me, because there's a bit where Jareth walks from one side upside down to the right side up, and it looks perfect.
Yeah.
Yet 20 years after this, 25 years after this, Inception comes out. Film I love. They walk up the side of a wall in that film, and it is the jankiest looking thing I've ever seen. They like take a step and like go, oh, they're suddenly up, and I'm like, how the hell?
I can't remember that bit. Did he do it like Batman? You know, the original Batman series, where just like this.
Well, it's like that,
like
but it's how they transition from being on one plane to the other, and it's like so they put their foot on, and suddenly they're like that way, and it looks terrible. And I don't know how it made the final cut. It looks that bad. Whereas this is just I'm trying to think now, how did they do that? Because it looks perfect. They probably did it for real. They probably had
I know they use like a body double for Bowie, and there's a bit where they have like someone on a spring that springs up around the side.
Yeah,
as well,
that's what I'm thinking.
Incredible.
They would have done it in camera. They would have had some way of doing it for real
to.
instead of CGIing it. And I think that's for someone who obviously Nolan is a proponent of trying to do as many things real as possible. Sometimes to the detriment of the film. Like for example, there's the nuclear blast test in Oppenheimer. They make a real explosion to show it, but it doesn't look like a nuclear bomb
Doesn't
as a
it?
result. Yeah, like it looks
I,
cool, but it's not like it's clearly
I
not the
wonder
right
if they'll
scale.
use a real Cyclops in the new one.
They're using a lot of puppets.
Oh, actually, really doing that?
Yes, so the
Wow.
Cyclops is puppetry and performance
good.
and force perspective and stuff like that.
Okay.
So yeah, they are physically doing. I mean, there will be CG. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, they are bringing back puppets for that, which I think is really cool. Yeah, bring back puppets. I want more puppets. Bring back
I
the
will
Muppets.
say, right, once you've watched the Dark Crystal, oh my God, please watch the Netflix Dark Crystal series. It's everything you want. Like it's enhanced by CG just to remove like a string and things like that, which you could have done that in Labyrinth because there's parts in the Goblin battle at the end where you can plainly see like strings over characters and things like that. And I don't mind kind of removing those because I want to just look at the puppet. But the Dark Crystal series is incredible. Like, it's an amazing achievement, and it was way too expensive to make, so that's why they never made the sequel. Everyone needs to watch it like 10 times.
Jim Henson, man, like taken well before his time. He was only in his 50s when he passed away, and he only directed like 3 films as well: Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, and one of the Muppet films. Muppet Caper, or one
the
of
first one.
I've only really seen the 90s Muppet films. Like as a kid, I loved Muppet Treasure Island.
I love that. And
it was
Christmas Carol as
weirdly
well?
a Christmas film for me.
Yeah.
Was Muppet?
Oh, that was a Christmas film?
Yes, because because it was on telly at Christmas one year, and I remember wrapping presents for my mum, dad, and brother and watching it. And I wasn't not even that young. I was probably like 13. Like, but for some reason it stuck with me as like a Christmas memory. I didn't watch the Muppet Christmas Carol till like 2 years ago, and loved it. But those are the kind of post Jim Henson era of the Muppets.
I always like the way Michael Caine and Tim Curry act in those movies. Because Michael
treating them as real films. That's why.
Yeah. Well, Michael Caine treats everyone like the human. And Tim Curry sees himself as a Muppet. That's what they both said. And it just works so well. I love those movies. I mean, Christmas Carol's like a yearly watch every time. I still blub up when I see little Tiny Tim's like crutched by the fireside. Oh, so lovely.
Tying slightly back into our previous conversation about TV that people don't really remember, Kevin Bishop from Muppet Treasure Island. He had a sketch show called The Kevin Bishop Show, because that's what most sketch shows were, which the conceit was like it was like a fake Sky EPG and you were like flicking over channels. Do you remember that one at all?
I'd never watched it. No, I don't. What was it on? It was like Channel 4
Channel 4, but it had, do you remember the old Sky where it was like the blue and white kind of thing at the bottom of the screen that would show you what you were watching? That would change in the show and someone was flicking the channels. So
cool
it had
idea,
random, the sketches might be 10 seconds long. It was like an advert for Walker's Crisps, but it's Christopher Walken's Crisps. Like, and stuff like that. And they did one that was called, this is a massive aside, did one that I still remember to this day called Dangerously High School Musical. And it was just a load of kids, Kevin Bishop, one of them, like pretending to be teenagers, singing and dancing, like, we're all gonna have a good time. And then one of them just falls off the building because they're on top of a building. So this school is too high. Like, just little stupid things like that.
Yeah.
Ramsey's Kitchen Nightmares, where there's a giant tarantula in the kitchen with him. That is a complete random aside. Steve, we've been chatting for over 2 hours now. Is there any final thoughts that we've not covered on Labyrinth that you want to bring up?
Just that the soundtrack it still holds up. I remember Magic Dance. I remember being obsessed with that song. I remember being at university and years and years ago, before you could actually download music or buy music or use Spotify or whatever. I remember finding some dodgy website. I was in a uni library, and I managed to download the copy of Magic Dance. I was like, oh my gosh! Like, I remember like being so excited, but it was like 8 meg or something like that, and I had to use like 3 or 4, probably more, floppy disks to span that across to be able to get that home. I know, exactly. So I remember getting home and I was like worrying, like, we used to be able to span like one file across floppy disks back in the day, and I was so worried that one of the disks was going to fail, and it didn't. And I'm just being amazed that I could listen to Magic Dance, not even like on a Walkman or anything, just through my PC at home. And I absolutely adore. I mean, I adore the whole soundtrack.
So you're probably talking like pre, like even Napster or Kazaa or anything there.
Yeah, pre that probably. Yeah, God, I don't even know what year it was. It was a long time ago. But when music felt like it wasn't at your fingertips all the time. You know, now you can just find it, you go on Spotify, it's there. But then it was like it's almost like when you hear Paul McCartney talk about, we learned this new chord because I met some fella on the bus. You know, we talk like that.
Yeah.
It's almost that's when you talk about how we used to accumulate music back then. I like know someone the next day in school was going to bring a tape in I could borrow and then tape myself. It's almost, you know, all those stories. But yeah, this album for me, I actually listened to it again today. I've got it on vinyl as well. And I love those songs. I think I'm a massive Bowie fan as well, so it kind of helps us, I suppose. But yeah, it's one of those albums that'll never get old for me. That's why I worry about a sequel, because I don't think it can ever be touched, and
Taylor
it feels
Swift?
like a one and done. I think she'd be too old now.
She'd be
I
singing.
feel like
But she can be Jareth. She can be lusting after everyone.
maybe. Oh yeah, just that little young boy or something. Maybe I don't know.
Oh,
Do we
Jesus
want
Christ.
that? Do we want that? I don't know. I don't know if do you want that? I don't want it. I don't think that's a good idea.
Fucking hell.
I just don't think they'll do that. I don't think they'll do any kind of. They're gonna. It's not like they'll ruin it. It's just that you won't be making it for me. That's the thing, and
That's
I'm fine with that.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
fine.
that people get really precious about the things that they love, which
Yeah.
I understand why. But I feel this a lot with like Star Wars fans these days, and they get mad
Yeah.
about stuff. And I'm like, Star Wars has always been for kids. Like
Yeah,
you,
and maybe I could be a hypocrite because like you know I'm saying how much I loved He-Man, but I'm also a big pusher of like let's make new things. So people in the future will be like, oh, remember that movie that came out in like 2026? That was my childhood. You know, the way you're
Obsession.
talking about these movies now, Obsession.
Yeah.
But it won't. But at that point, it'll be like Fast and Furious 19 or something like that. I remember
yeah,
Fast
but
and Furious 19.
there are original things that are, you know, like, okay, this is weird because it is a sequel, but like the biggest film of last year was Zootopia 2, but like Zootopia was original a few years prior to that. You know what I mean? Like there are
Yeah.
things that are original. You just
But
kind
I
of don't know.
suppose
I mean,
in
do
the
you remember
80s,
the?
it was.
Sorry, go on.
Go on. I would say the 80s, we had started getting the kind of the trickling of sequels, because before that, there was sequels weren't a thing. It was always just new things. And now we're getting Toy Story 5 soon and all that. Again, not against it. I'm going to love it. I think those Toy Story movies are great. But I just kind of wish there were like new,
100%,
big,
yeah.
exciting movies
I know what you mean,
as well as those.
But Pixar have just released Hoppers as well, and that's an original
Yeah.
film. You know, so like there are, you know, and like what was the biggest Disney film for years was Encanto. That was completely original. You know, like so there are. I feel like, and then what we had was the kind of range of things based on books that were. I mean, what is the Labyrinth for the generation after you? It's probably Harry Potter. You know, it's stuff like
Probably,
yeah,
yeah.
it's not completely original because it's based on a book, but. I mean, Labyrinth is
You've
pretty
got to get
much
away.
based on a book.
Yeah,
To the point
exactly.
where there was some legal rumblings about it. I think it
And it
even
makes
says
sense. You've got to put something out that's connected to something to have some kind of built-in audience. It's kind of safe, isn't it, for them to do? Like, why should we be against that? But
Yeah.
I just kind of, I don't know. Do I want that many I just don't want him to touch Labyrinth. That's what it is. I don't want him to touch it because I say to myself, oh, no, I've still got the original one, but because it's there, there's something there that's taken away.
What
And
would
I want to be
be-
one of those people that doesn't. But
what would be the best case scenario? Would it be like the Blade Runner 2049?
well, they've carried it on kind of in comic books, and I don't mind that. And if they did some kind of animated thing, that makes it kind of, it's almost like a different universe or whatever. But I think what they'll do is do a soft reboot where Sarah's daughter. You can write the story down and they'll do the same story. You know, I would say about the Goonies too.
Legacy
will
sequel.
be
Yeah.
you know exactly what they'll do with Goonies too. Like it'll be the parents' kids go on a journey, and then the parents are roped in because they're in trouble. You go, okay, one last adventure, and they'll do that, and you're like, that's where you weren't thinking about that when you did the original Goonies. You just had like a fun romp of a story, but now because over years and years and years, I mean, I'm a hypocrite because I love all the stuff, I've got all the stuff behind me, but I also just want like new, surprising ideas. Maybe it's hard for me because I'm an adult now.
Yeah, that's probably part of it. As long as they don't like CGI Deadeye resurrect David Bowie.
My word, like done with Val Kilmer. Like,
Yeah, but also, I mean, I haven't actually seen it, but they do it in the new Ghostbusters, don't they?
Oh yeah,
They bring back.
I
Harold
love the
Ramis.
original Ghostbusters film so much, but there's new ones not so much.
Yeah. What did you think of Ghostbusters 2016?
Do you know what I remember seeing, and I was kind of like, because I love. Okay, I'll have to preface this with why I think about Ghostbusters in general before you know what you kind of like label. in some way. But I think the original Ghostbusters is a perfect movie. I think it's incredible. It's like all those actors in that time. It was brilliant. Good soundtrack, all that. And then the second film, not as good because it's almost like a rehash of the first film. Still great. Still love it, but it's nowhere near as good as the first one. The 2016 one come out, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure. I might go and see it. And then I saw the actors on Graham Norton, and they're all up. And I thought they were hilarious. Where they being interviewed, I thought, oh, do you know what? This actually, it might work. And then I went to see the film, and it was the formula for Ghostbusters for me is horror and comedy. And it's really hard to do both together, but Ghostbusters nails it. And the 2016 one went just comedy.
Yeah.
To the point it was just quirky. It was not scary at all. And I was like, oh, it just went too far the other way. And I felt like there was a lot of times where they were just filming someone in the middle of, and then someone being in the middle of the frame doing improv. I'm like, this doesn't hold together at all. Like, really doesn't.
Yeah,
but that said,
I think that was the thing is because like Ghostbusters was essentially an SNL sketch brought into a film with very talented SNL people, as the 2016 was. But the anchor of Ghostbusters, the original, was Dan Aykroyd. Really fucking loved all that shit. He loved paranormal.
It's
stuff.
crazy in the best possible
way. And
way.
he would develop that lore and develop that kind of. There was like a real film behind it. Where I think the 2016 Ghostbusters was probably a bit overhated, to be honest. And
yeah,
I think
definitely.
And I think there is probably a slightly misogynistic element to that. But I don't think it's amazing. I think that Paul Feig has directed 3 excellent comedies with some of the same cast, though. He directed Bridesmaids, Spy, and The Heat. Them 3 are hilarious and very good.
The Heat. I think The Heat is so underrated.
So I don't think it's
Fantastic.
I think it is just because of the reverence for Ghostbusters and for the fact that it had to have a bit more of a substantial movie behind it as well. That was the issue with it. But again, that's another completely.
No, and then you'll start on the other ones. But yeah, I just love the original one. That's where I am.
Right, okay, Steve, it's been 2.5 hours nearly, so apologies that I've used so much of your time,
right,
but we could just chat all day. Well, I could chat all day about this stuff. I'll let you go now. Where can the folks at home catch you online?
Twitch is probably the best place, really. MrSteJ on Twitch. Find me there Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, streaming from 9 a.m. in the morning.
And I would highly recommend Steve's channel because I think for me, for the longest time, I didn't get Twitch until I started watching Steve. And that's because it is the chat, it is the community, it is a reason to watch. Like, I'm not someone who'll ever just watch someone burly talking and playing Call of Duty. I just don't get it. It's not for me. If it's for you, that's great. Steve's is the antithesis of that. It is like all about the kind of like the sense of community, and it's almost become like the big breakfast now. It's like the morning breakfast thing, as opposed to just like watching someone play a game. Steve, thanks so much for coming on. Really wanted to get you on for episode 10. Really appreciate you coming on. Hope you've had a good time chatting, and I'll catch up with you later.
Been awesome. Thank you so much for having me.